Chapter 887. At Luoyang's and family's residence, Ouyang Lan tugged at a girl and said, "Xiao AI, stay at home for a few more days. Don't be in a hurry to go back." "I don't think that's a good idea," Su AI said hesitantly. "What's wrong with that? Your mother and I grew up together. If it wasn't for your mother marrying so far away, I would have taken you as my goddaughter long ago. We're all family, so you can rest assured and stay here. If you were to stay outside after coming to Luoyang, I really wouldn't have the face to meet your mother," Ouyang Lan said with a smile. "Sister Lan, then I won't stand on ceremony," Su AI said. "Child, there's no need to be so polite with me. You stay here first. When little one comes back, I'll introduce you two to each other. You two are about the same age, so you should have common topics," said Ouyang Lan with a smile. "Is Zhou and Uncle Ling Feng's son?" Su AI asked. Ouyang Lan nodded. Although he is Ling Feng's son, his personality is completely different. He is just too shy. After Su AI left, Ouyang Lan asked Sheng, Sheng, what do you think of little AI and little one together?" "I think Xiao AI is quite good. She's quite compatible with little one." And Sheng thought for a moment and said, "Miss Su is old Master Su's daughter. The Su family doesn't have any sons, only 2 daughters. I heard that Su AI is especially doted on by old Master Su. Will they let Miss Su AI marry out? Mrs. Su and I are childhood friends. Even if they don't trust Su AI to marry someone else, wouldn't they trust her to marry into my family? You don't have to worry about that. Just tell me if you think they're compatible," Ouyang Lan said. "Miss Su is well-educated, gentle, and virtuous. She's also very smart. She's naturally an excellent candidate," and Sheng said. Ouyang Lan glared at Sheng. "Why are you beating around the bush when talking to me? Do you think there's something wrong with Su AI's character?" And Sheng shook his head and said, "That's not it. I just feel that Miss Su is too smart. I wonder if a simple-minded person like young Master one won't be easy to get along with." Ouyang Lan said with a smile, "You don't understand. It's better to find a smart and scheming woman. With Xiao Wen's straightforward character, it was impossible for him to coax a woman. It would be very hard for him to find a silly woman. But for a smart and sensible woman like Su AI, as long as she's willing, she'll think of a way to get little one to coax her. That way, she'll be able to live on." "Madam is right," and Sheng echoed. "When little one returns, let them interact with each other first. I think Xiao AI is quite a good child." Ouyang Lan thought for a moment and said, "We should have someone over there, right?" "There are some people," and Sheng answered. "Then let them investigate Su AI's hobbies so that little one can understand her better," said Ouyang Lan. "Yes, I'll do it right away." And Sheng naturally understood that what Ouyang Lan wanted him to investigate wasn't as simple as Su AI's hobbies, so he didn't dare to be negligent. The next morning, Su AI went to Luoyang's dimensional zone. Accompanying her was her personal female guard. "Miss, we have successfully entered the family. Should we follow the plan?" The female guard whispered when they arrived at an empty spot in the dimensional zone. "Don't be anxious. Don't be fooled by Ouyang Lan's appearance. She won't trust us so easily. This matter can't be rushed. Let's stay in the family for a while," Su AI said. "But Ouyang Lan seems to be trying to matchmake you and that Zhou one. That's not good, right?" The female guard said. "There's nothing bad about it. If I'm unwilling, Ouyang Lan can't force me, right? Besides, I also want to meet that Zhou one. He has caused so much trouble in the Federation alone. I want to see what kind of person he is," Su AI said. "It's best to be careful. According to the information we obtained, the Xia family has suffered a huge loss because of him. The Cape family and the family clan of gods seem to have suffered quite a blow because of him. It's best not to interact with such a person, lest we expose our identities," the female guard said. "Don't worry. It won't be exposed. No one will expect that the Su family's second Missy, Su AI, is Great Skyfian's master, Yusuji now," Su AI said indifferently. "In short, it's best to be careful. After all, this isn't overseas. Also, Miss, you're now the second Missy of the Su family, Su AI. Don't mention other names while you're in the Federation," the female guard reminded her again. "I know." Su AI nodded and didn't say anything else. As Zhou rushed, He used his phone to explore Deer Terrace Pavilion. The space beneath Deer Terrace Pavilion was much larger than he imagined. He encountered several mythical creatures inside, but unfortunately, none of them dropped companion eggs. He found quite a number of dimensional crystals, but not many of them could be used. Now, Zhou was in an awkward situation. He couldn't absorb mythical dimensional crystals, or it was useless even if he absorbed them. Epic crystals were no longer of much use to him, so he didn't actually use many of them despite having so many dimensional crystals. Since I can't use them myself, I'll let you guys have them. Zhou summoned his main companion beasts, such as Tyrant Behemoth and Demonic Neonate. He got them to choose their own crystals and eat those they were willing to eat. Zhou planned on seeing if the crystals here would respawn the next time he came. If they could respawn, he would really be rich. Explosive Fiend Man and Dr. Darkness were very interested in some of the Essence Energy Skill crystals, but Demonic Neonate remained the same. Mythical crystals couldn't move her. She usually only ate longevity fruits, and there weren't many of them left. Tyrant Behemoth and Truth Listener weren't picky eaters. As long as they could provide energy, they would swallow most crystals. Zhou constantly searched Deer Terrace Pavilion. Apart from searching for the treasures in Deer Terrace Pavilion, he also wanted to see if he could find the Thearch's true body. He refused to believe that the Thearch was that flower. By the time Zhou returned to Luoyang, he still hadn't found the Thearch's true body beneath Deer Terrace Pavilion. The interior of Deer Terrace Pavilion was just too complicated. Zhou had only explored less than half of it. According to the parts he had explored so far, Zhou felt that there were definitely terror-grade existences in Deer Terrace Pavilion. As they were only mythical dimensional creatures, he had already seen 6 in Deer Terrace Pavilion. 4-dimensional zones, like the Metalwork Temple, there was only 1 mythical creature in the entire dimensional zone. Now, in the ancient buildings on Deer Terrace Pavilion, including the mythical creatures that had been discovered inside, there were more than 10. This was just too terrifying. It was definitely not something an ordinary dimensional zone could compare with. After returning to Luoyang, Zhou planned on returning to school first, but on the way, he suddenly saw the cube on the street light up. A companion beast had issued a challenge, so he took over to take a look. "Coach, when did you come back?" Just as Zhou approached the cube, Feng Qian, Sadie, and Gully, who weren't far away, saw him. They waved and greeted him as they squeezed over. Chapter 888. I just arrived in Luoyang and haven't had the time to return to school. When Zhou saw that it was Feng Qian and company, he stood to the side and made room for them. "Coach, which of the 2 companion beasts do you think will win?" Gully often heard Feng Qian call him coach, so he followed suit. "I don't know. I've never seen these 2 companion beasts before," Zhou said with a shake of his head. "You can guess even if you haven't seen them before. With your standards, coach, you should be able to guess correctly just by taking a casual look," Gully said with a smile. Gully's words were a little exaggerated, attracting the attention of the others beside him. Suai wasn't far away when she heard Gully's words. She turned to look at Zhou and company. "Are Federation students all so arrogant and conceited?" Suai thought to herself. She sized up Zhou and company without paying much attention to them, believing that they were a group of students bragging. Before she came, she had seen Zhou's information and photo, but back then, Zhou was wearing Sunset College's uniform. Furthermore, he looked very spirited. Now that Zhou had been on the run for so many days, he didn't have the time to take care of himself. He looked a little slovenly, and he looked a little older than his actual age. Furthermore, with her in his arms, those who didn't know better would think that he was a young father who didn't know how to take care of his daughter. Therefore, Suai didn't think of Zhou for a moment. She only imagined that Zhou was Feng Qian and company's mentor. Zhou looked at the challenger and the one being challenged. The one being challenged was a Thunderbird, and the one challenging the Thunderbird was a Wind Thunder Raven. Both of them had the lightning attribute and were birds. They were rather similar mythical pets. They both have lightning elemental powers, but the Wind Thunder Raven has wind elemental powers. Its speed is also faster than the Thunderbird's. I think the Wind Thunder Raven has a higher chance of winning. Coach, what do you think? Gully said again. I think the Thunderbird will win, Zhou said. Why? Gully asked in puzzlement. In fact, it wasn't just Gully who was puzzled. Su AI, who heard their conversation, didn't think much of it either. She also believed that the Wind Thunder Raven would win. As the Wind Thunder Raven was an overseas companion beast, Su AI was very familiar with it. The Wind Thunder Raven's strength was the power of wind and lightning. It was somewhat different from pure lightning. It could even be said that it restrained pure lightning. Therefore, although Su AI didn't know much about the Thunderbird, she still felt that the Wind Thunder Raven had a higher chance of winning. Su AI naturally didn't think much of Zhou certainty that Thunderbird would win. Zhou looked at the Thunderbird on the screen and said, "That's because that Thunderbird has an aura of absolute victory. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the braver one wins. If the difference in strength between the Thunderbird and the Wind Thunder Raven isn't too great, then the Thunderbird will definitely win." So, it's related to the aura, Feng Shuyan said as he fell into deep thought. He seemed to have understood something. It's a pity that I can't place a bet here. Otherwise, I could bet on the Thunderbird to win and earn some pocket money, Gully said regretfully. Even such a person can be a tutor at Sunset College. From the looks of it, Sunset College doesn't live up to its name. When Su AI heard their words, she stopped paying attention to them. She felt that Zhou was spouting nonsense. If one could determine victory just by relying on one's aura, what was the point of strength? As the few of them spoke, the battle between the Thunderbird and the Wind Thunder Raven had already begun. The Wind Thunder Raven directly launched an attack. Its flying speed was extremely fast, and when it flew, it was accompanied by the sound of wind and thunder. It was much faster than the Thunderbird's flying speed. After using its speed to bypass the Thunderbird's line of sight, the Wind Thunder Raven launched a violent bombardment. With a flap of its wings, wind and lightning transformed into blades of light that attacked the Thunderbird from behind like a storm. The blades of wind and lightning that filled the sky cut off all the Thunderbird's paths of retreat. The Thunderbird had no intention of retreating. Lightning spewed out from its body as it headed straight for the storm. Boom! Lightning rumbled as the wind blades shattered and sparks flew everywhere. The Thunderbird flew against the wind and tore through the wind and lightning blades that filled the sky, charging in front of the Wind Thunder Raven. The Wind Thunder Raven wanted to use its speed to dodge the Thunderbird's attack before counterattacking. However, to its surprise, the Thunderbird charged forward without any hesitation. It didn't dodge the wind and lightning blades released by the Wind Thunder Raven at all. It would rather suffer some injuries to forcefully chase after it. Although the Wind Thunder Raven was faster, it could only dodge under the Thunderbird's suppression. As for the Thunderbird, it became more and more ferocious as it charged. The lightning on its body condensed on its body like a bird-shaped bolt of lightning streaking across the sky. If it were to hit, even steel would explode. In the beginning, the Wind Thunder Raven could still use its speed to dodge, but as the lightning on the Thunderbird's body became stronger, its flying speed became faster and faster. It was difficult for the Wind Thunder Raven to dodge the Thunderbird's attacks. Before long, the Wind Thunder Raven's owner saw that it had no chance of winning, so he admitted defeat and unsummoned the Wind Thunder Raven. As expected of Coach, "You have sharp eyes." Gully gave him a thumbs up. Su AI still didn't think much of it. She didn't believe that Zhou had relied on some aura to determine that the Thunderbird would win. She thought to herself, if it's not because he's lucky, he must have long been familiar with the Thunderbird and the Wind Thunder Raven's abilities. That's why he made such a judgment. After watching the battle, Su AI was about to leave when she suddenly heard Sadie ask Zhou, "Coach, what do you think of Great Sky Fiend, who's currently in first place on the rankings?" Upon hearing Sadie's words, Su AI couldn't help but slow down. Her ears pricked up as she felt a little smug. These Federation people should be afraid of Great Sky Fiend's invincibility and strength. Right? What do you mean? Zhou asked. Sadie thought for a moment and said, "Coach, do you think Great Sky Fiend can maintain first place until the end of the ranking battle?" "No, Zhou answered directly. What? Sadie asked in surprise when she saw Zhou answer so straightforwardly. Because it's too weak, Zhou answered truthfully. He had seen too many powerful guardians. If they couldn't reach the terror grade, they were naturally weak in Zhou's opinion. It was impossible for them to obtain first place. As for Great Sky Fiend, she clearly hadn't reached the terror grade. Too weak. When Su Ai heard this, she nearly blew her top. If they were overseas, she wouldn't hesitate to summon Great Sky Fiend to let Zhou know how terrifying the guardian he mentioned was. Unfortunately, this was the Federation. Su Ai could only hold back as she thought to herself, I can't lower myself to the level of these ignorant Federation people. When Gully heard Zhou's answer, he gave him a thumbs up and said, Sis, isn't your question redundant? In front of Coach, Great Sky Fiend is definitely weak. Unfortunately, pure humans can't participate in the battle. Otherwise, Coach would be able to beat Great Sky Fiend and use Suji Now up in a few strikes. They would kneel down and call him Daddy. Chapter 889. I'll bear with it. I'll bear with it. The corners of Su Ai's eyes twitched as she felt the urge to kill. However, this was the Federation, and Su Ai had a special mission. She couldn't expose her identity, so she resisted the urge to slap Gully. Are you returning to school? Zhou asked Gully and company. Yes, let's go together. The few of them returned to school together. Ouyang Lan was really well informed. Zhou had just returned to school when he received a call from her. She asked him to have dinner that night. Zhou agreed. It had been a long time since he had seen Zhou Lingfeng and Ouyang Lan. He could use the opportunity to meet them during dinner. He helped her change into new clothes and took her to dinner. However, when he arrived, Zhou realized that Zhou Lingfeng wasn't around. Apart from Ouyang Lan, there was a girl who looked to be in her 20s. The girl was naturally Yusuji Now, who had impersonated Su Ai. She was slightly taken aback when she saw Zhou and Ye. Only then did she recognize that Zhou was the fellow who had said that Great Sky Fiend was too weak during the day. Come, little one, let me introduce you. This is my childhood friend's daughter, Su Ai. Ouyang Lan pulled Zhou to sit beside her. Ouyang Lan didn't deliberately let Zhou sit beside Su Ai because she knew him too well. She knew that Zhou didn't know how to chat with girls at all. He wouldn't say anything even if she let him sit beside Su Ai. Little Ai, this is an orphan adopted by Zhou. Don't be fooled by his cold demeanor, but he's actually very caring. As Ouyang Lan explained Ye's origins, she beautified Zhou. In such an environment, it's rare to see such a caring person, Su Ai said with a smile. That's right. Not only is my little one compassionate, but he's also talented. He learns everything at once. Even Zhou blushed when he heard Ouyang Lan's praises. Zhou, I heard that your cultivation talent is extremely high. Even your peers from the 6 families are far inferior to you. I wonder if you can teach me? Su Ai said to Zhou with a smile. I didn't. Before Zhou could finish his sentence, Ouyang Lan interrupted him. When Ouyang Lan heard Zhou's opening sentence, she knew that he wanted to say that he didn't have time. She knew Zhou too well, so she didn't hesitate to say, Zhou will be fine. It's still early anyway. You young people can head out for a walk after we finish eating. If you have any questions about cultivation, feel free to ask little one. He's an absolute genius in this aspect. Ouyang Lan thought that it wasn't easy to find a girl who wasn't scared away by Zhou and was willing to understand him. Ouyang Lan felt that she couldn't let go of this opportunity. She was truly worried that with his personality, he wouldn't be able to find a wife in the future. Can the beautiful Sister Lan take you out to play? After the meal, Ouyang Lan wanted to take Ye away to prevent her from interfering with their conversation. Ye turned her head and leaned her face on Zhou's shoulder, completely ignoring Ouyang Lan. It's fine, Sis Lan. I'll take her. She's afraid of strangers, Zhou said. You'll spoil her. Ouyang Lan was helpless. Although she was sharp with her words, she couldn't bear to forcefully take Ye away. All she could do was let Ye go with Zhou. Sis Lan, I like children too. I'll take care of her. Don't worry, Su AI said. Then I'm relieved. Ouyang Lan couldn't help but praise Su AI for being sensible. Zhou Wen and Su AI left the restaurant together. Seeing that Zhou Wen wasn't saying a word, Su AI took the initiative to say, Zhou Wen, I have some cultivation questions I want to ask you. Is it convenient for us to go to the training grounds? Sure. Zhou Wen saw that it was still early. Furthermore, Ouyang Lan had already agreed. It wasn't appropriate for him to leave directly, so he nodded. When Su AI saw Zhou Wen agree, a crafty glint flashed in her eyes. She thought to herself, today, I'll let you know that there's always someone better. Let's see if you still dare to be arrogant in the future. How dare you say that Great Sky Fiend is too weak? I'll let you know who's too weak later. The reason she took the initiative to ask Zhou Wen out was naturally not to build a good relationship with him. Yusuji Nao's goal wasn't Zhou Wen, but the Yin family's arsenal and the new essence energy weapons that the Yin family was researching. These had nothing to do with Zhou Wen, so there was no need for her to deliberately approach him. If it wasn't for Zhou Wen's evaluation of Great Sky Fiend and Gully's words in front of the cube that had angered her, Yusuji now might have only politely finished the meal with Zhou Wen and never taken the initiative to ask him out. Zhou Wen's thoughts were even simpler. He wasn't interested in Su AI. Furthermore, the problem of the alchemist hadn't been resolved, so he wasn't in the mood to think about anything else. If it wasn't for Sislan, Zhou Wen would have returned to grinding dungeons. The two of them had their own thoughts and soon arrived at a nearby training ground. Su AI didn't wish for others to see them, so she paid for a separate training room. Soon, the staff brought them in. Is there anything you need me to teach you? Zhou Wen asked Su AI. These words sounded awkward in Su AI's ears. She thought to herself, you really think highly of yourself. If you want to teach me, do in your next life. You'll know in a while who's teaching who. Su AI didn't show her thoughts on her face. She looked at Zhou Wen and said with a smile, do you know sword techniques? I've been practicing a sword technique recently, but no matter how much I practice, I can't grasp the gist of it. I want you to help me see what's wrong. I know a little. How about this? Practice the sword technique for me first. I'll try and see if I can find the problem, Zhou Wen said seriously. He didn't know that Su AI had so many thoughts on her mind. He imagined that Su AI really wanted his help and felt that it didn't matter if he helped her. After all, she was Sislan's childhood daughter. All right, I'll practice it first. Help me see if there's anything wrong. If there's anything wrong, feel free to say it. There's no need to worry. With that said, Su AI pulled out a sword from the rack and stood in the middle of the training ground. Of course, she wouldn't really let Zhou Wen guide her in swordplay. Not only was there no problem with the sword technique she demonstrated, but it was also very profound. This sword technique was called the Three Immortal Swords. It was obtained by Yusuji Nao in a mysterious dimensional zone overseas. She was the only one in the world who knew the Three Immortal Swords. Furthermore, she had never displayed it in front of outsiders before. Now that she was using the Three Immortal Swords, the practiced sword in her hand drew out a profound trajectory. It looked like a casual sword move, but in fact it was very profound. Back when Yusuji Nao practiced the Three Immortal Swords, she had put in a lot of effort. She focused on practicing for more than a year before she truly mastered the Three Immortal Swords and comprehended the sword intent of the Three Immortal Swords. Chapter 890. The most difficult part of the Three Immortal Swords was that there were three forces in one strike. They were hard and soft, and they were hard and soft. There were three different ways to use the forces and concepts of hard, soft, and fusion. One had to ingeniously combine the three forces and concepts into one to be able to use the Three Immortal Swords well. If one didn't use it well, not only would one not be able to achieve the effect of defeating the enemy, but one would also end up like a dog. It would be good enough if one didn't get injured, much less injure the enemy. Yusuji Nao had practiced the Three Immortal Swords for so long before she could master them. How could someone who had never seen the Three Immortal Swords give her pointers? Yusuji Nao's demonstration of this sword technique was to embarrass Zhou Wen and let him know who was truly too weak. As no one had seen the three immortal swords before, Yusuji now wasn't afraid of being recognized. Zhou didn't know that Yusuji now had so many thoughts on her mind. He only believed that she was really seeking his advice, so he watched very seriously, searching for anything amiss with the three immortal swords. Soon, Yusuji now demonstrated the three immortal swords before looking at Zhou and asking with a smile, "Do you need me to demonstrate it again?" "All right," Zhou said with a nod. A smile appeared on Yusuji Nao's face before she demonstrated the sword technique again. However, she thought to herself, "You won't be able to understand it even if I demonstrate it 10 or 100 times, much less demonstrate it again." Unlike the straightforward and domineering sword techniques, the three immortal swords mainly used force and concepts. These intrinsic things couldn't be understood just by looking at the sword moves. Yusuji now had already made up her mind. After this, she would ask Zhou if he wanted to demonstrate again. If Zhou overestimated himself and wanted to watch it a third time, she would directly ask Zhou if he could see any problems after the third time. If you know what's good for you, you should admit that you can't tell anything. You won't be so embarrassed, Yusuji now thought. Soon, Yusuji now demonstrated the three immortal swords again. After stopping, she held the practice sword and asked Zhou with a smile, "Do you want me to demonstrate it again?" "There's no need." Zhou shook his head. Yusuji now thought to herself, "At least you know your limits. If I were to demonstrate it a third time and end up not being able to tell anything, it would only be more embarrassing." Yusuji now smiled at Zhou, waiting for him to lower his head and admit that he couldn't tell anything. "There's indeed a huge problem with your sword technique." However, Zhou's words left Yusuji now stunned. "Oh, tell me, what's the problem with my sword art?" Yusuji now looked at Zhou with a faint smile. She imagined that Zhou was putting up a front. From Yusuji Nao's point of view, Zhou's actions would only embarrass him even more. "The problem with your sword technique is very serious. The sword technique you practice is incomplete to begin with," Zhou said. "The sword technique I'm practicing is actually incomplete?" Yusuji now pretended to be surprised, but she sneered inwardly. "Incomplete my ass. The three immortal swords' sword technique is complete and flawless. I've already completely mastered it. How dare you say that it's incomplete? Keep lying. Let's see how you can lie. Yes, the sword technique is indeed incomplete. It's also possible that you failed to comprehend the sword technique's true meaning when you practiced it. You failed to draw inferences and comprehend the sword technique's true meaning," Zhou said. "So that's how it is. Then, can you give me some pointers? What's the true meaning of this sword technique?" Yusuji now said teasingly as she looked at Zhou. She had already practiced the three immortal swords to the point where she could use it in reverse, but Zhou actually said that she hadn't obtained its true meaning. Yusuji now only wanted to know how Zhou was going to continue lying. "Give me the sword." Zhou extended his hand in front of Yusuji now. Yusuji now handed the practice sword to Zhou and stood by the side with her arms crossed. She waited to see Zhou's clumsy performance. She was somewhat curious now. She wanted to know how Zhou could spin such an outrageous lie. Zhou got her to stand by the side as he walked to the middle of the training grounds with the practice sword in hand. He said, "This sword technique of yours has the use of three forces and concepts. You have already used the three forces and concepts very well, but your method isn't right. Therefore, you can only stay at this stage. There's no way for you to improve further and master the complete sword technique. To be able to tell that the three immortal swords are a combination of three forces and concepts, this Zhou isn't completely blind," Yusuji now thought. However, Zhou's attitude still left her displeased. Therefore, she asked with a faint smile, "Then how can I improve further and master the complete sword technique?" "That's not difficult." The practice sword in Zhou's hand moved. The sword move he executed was actually Yusuji Nao's three immortal swords. When Yusuji now saw that Zhou could actually use the three immortal swords' sword moves, she was already surprised that he could produce the corresponding sword intent despite only using one force. She couldn't help but think highly of Zhou. "This is the first force and concept of the sword technique," said Zhou Wen as he used another move. As Zhou Wen spoke, he used another move. It was still the three immortal sword move that Yu Suji now had used. This time, Zhou Wen's sword move contained both hard and soft forces and concepts. This time, Yu Suji now was somewhat alarmed. To be able to display both hard and soft forces in one strike was something she had practiced for nearly a month. According to Taoists, the so-called two-in-one can be viewed as the birth of yin and yang from chaos. It can also be said to be the separation of hard and soft. As Zhou Wen spoke, he struck out. It was still the three immortal swords sword move, but this time he had unleashed all three forces at once. Yu Suji now widened her eyes as she looked at Zhou Wen in disbelief. She thought to herself, could it be that Zhou Wen has practiced the three immortal swords in the past? That's impossible. The three immortal swords are engraved on the stone wall of the three caves immortal. After I saw it, the stone wall had already been destroyed. How could Zhou Wen have learned the three immortal swords? One begets two begets three, and three begets all things. Your sword technique stops at three and doesn't continue expanding. It's just like the basic three primary colors of red, green, and blue. You will use the three primary colors, but after the three primary colors are combined, they can form even more colorful colors, forming a colorful world. I don't know if your sword technique is lacking or because you haven't comprehended the true meaning of the sword technique, but it has stopped at the realm of the three primary colors. You haven't been able to display the true meaning of the world of swords. As Zhou Wen spoke, he demonstrated. On the other side, Yu Suji now was stunned. Her face was filled with shock and disbelief. 4, 5, 6. Yu Suji now saw more and more sword intents in Zhou Wen's sword technique, but they were extremely harmonious. It was as though the three immortal swords were supposed to be like this. At first glance, what Zhou Wen said seemed to make sense, but Yu Suji now felt deeply helpless. Even if she understood this principle, she didn't have that many sword intents that she could casually combine. Chapter 891. 9, 10, 11. Is this fellow a monster? Yu Suji now stared intently at Zhou Wen as the shock in her heart intensified. Zhou Wen casually waved his hand and used more than 10 sword intents. How could he comprehend so many sword intents at his age? Zhou Wen's sword intents were naturally not cultivated by himself. In fact, Zhou Wen had never practiced sword techniques. What he was really good at was his movement techniques. At most, he had immortal slaying. These sword intents were all learned by Zhou Wen in the Peach Blossom Mystic Realm. The white-robed man's sword technique had 3,000 sword intents. This was just a drop in the ocean. Although Zhou Wen hadn't fully comprehended the 3,000 sword intents, he had already memorized them. He couldn't use them to fight a true top-notch sword Dao expert, but it was still quite impressive if he used them casually. That's the general problem. There's nothing else. Go back and practice slowly. I still have something to do, so I'll be leaving first. Zhou Wen handed the practice sword back to Yu Suji now before picking up and leaving the practice room. Yu Suji now watched Zhou Wen leave in a daze. She didn't recover for a long time. After the door to the practice room closed, she came to a realization. Practice? Why should I practice? That's not the three immortal sword art at all. There aren't that many sword intents in the three immortal sword art. How the hell am I supposed to practice? Although she said that, Yu Suji now was still shocked by Zhou Wen's sword technique. He could mix more than 10 sword intents together and still release them freely. Even among the top sword Dao masters overseas, there weren't many who could do this. Miss, are you all right? The female guard walked in. She had been secretly protecting Yu Suji now, but with Zhou Wen around, she didn't dare come up. She only came up after Zhou Wen left. I'm fine. From the looks of it, I underestimated the young experts of the Federation. It's indeed not without reason that Zhou Wen can stir up such a huge storm in the Federation, Yu Suji now said. What happened? The female guard asked. It's nothing. I just witnessed Zhou Wen's sword technique. It's indeed very strong. Unfortunately, no matter how strong his sword art is, it's useless. Without a guardian, humans ultimately can't step into the man-god stage. No matter how strong his sword art is, he's ultimately immortal. Yusuji now slowly regained her confidence. Although Zhou was strong, he could only stop below the mythical stage. She had Great Sky Fiend and was already standing in the mythical stage. She still had the right to look down on him. I can study the world of swords that Zhou mentioned, Yusuji now thought. I already said that a person like Zhou definitely has something extraordinary about him, the female guard said. Yusuji now didn't say anything else as she looked at the female guard and asked, "How's the information I asked you to find out? Did you find out who Tyrant Behemoth's owner is?" "There is no news yet. Our people are already investigating," the female guard said. "Find him as soon as possible." "I have to avenge Orochi's death," said Yusuji now. Zhou returned to his dorm and began grinding dungeons again. Now, all he wanted to do was figure out Chess Mountain's dungeon as soon as possible. If the alchemist came looking for him again, he could lure him to Chess Mountain. The interior of Deer Terrace Pavilion was larger than Zhou imagined. As he needed to explore it and didn't directly use Earth Escape, Zhou wouldn't know what he missed in the process. After entering Deer Terrace Pavilion again, Zhou continued exploring the place he had last time. Not long after exploring, an arched door suddenly appeared in front of Zhou. After passing through the arched door, there was a huge space inside. This space looked like the interior of a tower. There were arched doors all around, and there was water flowing inside many of them. The bottom of this space was occupied by water. It was like a huge circular pool, and in the middle was a huge bronze cauldron. Inside the bronze cauldron was a white fox. It was different from ordinary foxes. The fox had 9 snow-white tails on its back. As for its body, it was trapped by the chains that passed through the bronze cauldron, as though it was imprisoned inside. Is that the 9-tailed fox? Zhou couldn't help but recall the legend of Deer Terrace Pavilion. It was the peerless demon concubine that brought calamity to the country and people. Although the 9-headed pheasant and the jade peepa spirit were both demons, the first impression people had of a demon concubine was the 9-tailed fox. There wouldn't be a second one. Could she be the arch? Zhou was puzzled as he sized up the 9-tailed white fox in the bronze cauldron. Suddenly, the 9-tailed white fox opened its eyes. Its slender and seductive eyes looked in the direction of the blood-colored avatar. They were the eyes of a fox, but in Zhou's eyes, they were indescribably charming. It even made Zhou feel tempted. He couldn't help but want to rush towards the white fox in the bronze cauldron. Zhou was alarmed as he hurriedly focused his mind. He had the ability to focus to begin with. At that moment, he focused his mind and immediately regained his clarity. When he looked at the 9-tailed fox again, he didn't feel anything. However, the demonic glint in the 9-tailed fox's eyes intensified. It was unknown if it was due to the demonic glint in its eyes, but the 9-tailed fox in Zhou's eyes gradually transformed into a beautiful woman in a white palatial gown. Zhou had seen quite a number of beauties, but he had never seen such a seductive woman. Her eyes seemed to be seductive, as though any man in the world would be willing to die for her, as long as her eyes moved. The blood-colored avatar walked towards the extremely seductive woman in a daze, as though it had lost its soul. It only had eyes for the woman and nothing else. The blood-colored avatar quickly arrived in front of the bronze cauldron and looked at the girl inside. Without any hesitation, it jumped into the bronze cauldron. However, there was no woman in a white palatial gown in the bronze cauldron. It was clearly the evil and demonic 9-tailed white fox. At that moment, it opened its bloody mouth and bit at the blood-colored avatar's head. Just as the 9-tailed fox's mouth was about to bite the blood-colored avatar, the dazed blood-colored avatar suddenly flashed and dodged the demon fox's bloody mouth by a hair's breadth. At the same time, an invisible sword beam slashed across the 9-tailed fox's neck. Blood immediately dyed the snow-white skin on its neck red. Zhou thought it was a pity, as he had to pretend to be charmed by the 9-tailed fox, he couldn't condense his primordial energy in advance, so he couldn't use immortal slaying. Otherwise, this strike might have already beheaded the nine-tailed fox. The nine-tailed fox was alarmed and furious. It found it unbelievable that its charm was useless against Zhou. In fact, Zhou was afraid of many things, but powers like charm were useless against him. Back then, even the Lost Immortal Sutra had failed to charm him, much less a nine-tailed fox. So Gu. Chapter 892. The nine-tailed fox's eyes suffused a demonic glint as its nine tails danced wildly. The essence energy on its body spewed out like a volcanic eruption. Zhou hurriedly summoned Tyrant Behemoth and got it to charge forward. However, when Tyrant Behemoth made contact with a nine-tailed fox's eyes, it was immediately charmed by it. It turned around and charged at the blood-colored avatar. Zhou hurriedly dodged and retreated as Tyrant Behemoth chased after him. Even a mythical creature like Tyrant Behemoth can be charmed? Zhou looked back. Thankfully, the nine-tailed fox was locked in the bronze tripod and couldn't chase after him. Tyrant Behemoth chased after Zhou for quite a while before the influence of the charm on it gradually disappeared. Zhou regained control of it and unsummoned Tyrant Behemoth. I can withstand the charm myself, but companion beasts can't. From the looks of it, I can only kill that nine-tailed fox myself. Zhou felt that the nine-tailed fox didn't look like the Dharch. Even if the Dharch in-game wasn't as intelligent as she was in real life, her intelligence shouldn't be that low. Furthermore, it felt like the nine-tailed fox's abilities were somewhat different from the Thearch's. At the very least, the nine-tailed fox didn't seem to have the ability to make wishes, nor did it have the invisible pressure of the Dharch. Furthermore, Zhou didn't see the nine-tailed fox use its terror form. If it had used its terror form, Zhou's strike probably wouldn't have been able to injure it. After returning to where the nine-tailed fox was, Zhou wore the invisibility cloak and activated his invisibility state. He approached the nine-tailed fox without it noticing him at all. With the light concealment sword and immortal slaying, he beheaded the nine-tailed fox before it could even react. From the looks of it, this nine-tailed fox can't be the Dharch. Zhou was somewhat disappointed, but he suddenly realized that something was amiss. The nine-tailed fox was already dead. Logically speaking, there should have been a game notification, but he didn't see any notification of killing the nine-tailed fox. Crack! Crack! The chains that bound the nine-tailed fox automatically opened, perhaps because the nine-tailed fox was dead. However, after the chains were undone, the nine-tailed fox's corpse floated into the air. Its head regrew. As its nine tails swayed, primordial energy burned like flames. Wherever the flames passed, the nine-tailed fox's body underwent a strange transformation. It gradually transformed from a fox into an extremely beautiful woman in white palatial attire. Moreover, this woman's body gave off a demonic light, making her look like a ghost or god. This time, it wasn't an illusion but a real woman. Warning, warning, nine-tailed fox has entered a fear state. Nine-tailed fox has entered a fear state. A red warning message popped up in the game. Terror, transformation. Without a word, Zhou turned around and ran. He didn't have the means to kill a terror-grade creature. If he didn't run, he could only wait for death. Thankfully, the effects of the invisibility cloak remained. The nine-tailed fox couldn't see Zhou, allowing him to escape. Although I can't be sure if the nine-tailed fox is the Dharch, I can lure him to the nine-tailed fox if that alchemist chases after me again. After seeing the nine-tailed fox's abilities, Zhou already had some ideas. The nine-tailed fox's strongest ability was still bewitchment, but it was useless against Zhou. Therefore, in comparison, the nine-tailed fox was likely the terror-grade creature that Zhou wasn't afraid of. Zhou avoided the nine-tailed fox's location and went to other parts of Deer Terrace Pavilion to hunt dimensional creatures. However, no matter where Zhou went, he would eventually reach the space where the nine-tailed fox was. From the looks of it, I can only head to the area behind after killing the nine-tailed fox. Zhou had no choice but to temporarily give up on the idea of grinding Deer Terrace Pavilion. After grinding all the dungeons he could, he didn't gain much. When he was grinding the Ancient Sword Tomb, he discovered a mythical ancient sword. The ancient sword was wide and had extremely powerful destructive power. After killing it, he learned that its name was Great Ravager. It was a mythical sword, but unfortunately, no companion eggs dropped. After returning to Luoyang for a few days, he didn't find any traces of the alchemist. This made Zhou feel uneasy, and Sheng had already gotten someone to monitor him closely, hoping to discover the alchemist before he entered Luoyang. Unfortunately, there was no news of him. It was unknown if he hadn't come to Luoyang or if he had avoided all the surveillance. At the training grounds of the Xianwen Club, your wise and mighty president is back. Are you very happy and pleasantly surprised? Li Xian returned much earlier than expected. According to Li Xian, he had already learned most of Worm Dugu's Gu nurturing techniques. All that was left was practice. He felt bored over there, so he ran back. Due to the pair of ice silkworms, Li Xian's combat strength was considered very strong. However, when he was in the Dugu family, Worm Dugu didn't allow him to use the ice silkworms. He insisted on fighting all kinds of Gu personally, making him suffer quite a bit. However, it was also because of this that he had a very deep understanding of Gu. Furthermore, it was of great help to his growth. I realized that you seem to have become a lot more handsome recently. Zhou sized up Li Xian. Is that so? Li Xian stroked his chin and said smugly, I've always been very handsome. It's just that you didn't realize in the past. There's nothing to make a fuss about. No, I really think you're much more handsome than before. Come, let me take a closer look. Zhou encircled Li Xian a few times and nodded thoughtfully. I see. I understand. What do you understand? Li Xian asked curiously. I understand why you look so much more handsome, Zhou said. What? Li Xian hurriedly asked. Because of you. Zhou deliberately lowered his voice. When Li Xian came close to hear him clearly, he punched him in the eye. Because you haven't been beaten up in a long time. Li Xian was immediately enraged by the punch. Damn you, Zhou. How dare you sneak attack me? You're dead. Seeing Li Xian rush over, Zhou summoned the Defy Ancient Sovereign Life Soul and fused it with him, assuming a combat stance. When Li Xian rushed over, the Life Soul carapace had already enveloped his body. At the same time, he swung his fist. Zhou dodged Li Xian's fist and slashed at the back of his neck. Li Xian's movement technique strangely circled around. Not only did he dodge Zhou's hand blade, but he also stabbed at Zhou's waist with his fingers like sharp blades. What's with your movement technique? Zhou was somewhat surprised. When Li Xian was injured, he could quickly learn the other party's skills and moves, but he couldn't learn movement techniques. This was because movement techniques wouldn't injure him, so Li Xian's movement technique had always been his weakness. However, Li Xian's movement technique had clearly improved greatly. Furthermore, it looked rather strange and fast. This is the Dugu family's movement technique. Originally, it was never taught to outsiders, but my talent is too great and my character is too good. I made an exception to learn it from the Dugu family. Li Xian said smugly. Then let me see how far you have learned it. Zhou became serious as he pushed the Defy Ancient Sovereign's strength to its limits. So Gu. Chapter 893. Gu Jian, Feng Shuyan, Sadie, Gully, Feng Ruoshi, and the other members of the Xianwen Club watched the battle from the side. After watching for a while, Feng Shuyan's eyes lit up as he said, President has become much stronger this time. Be it his movement techniques or techniques, they have already reached the limits of humans. Furthermore, he can constantly repair and become stronger in battle. Coach might really be in trouble this time. Sadie nodded slightly. The terrifying thing about Li Xian is that he has countless opportunities to fail. As for others, as long as they make a mistake, they might not have another chance. This ability is really enviable. Gully said enviously, Why don't I have such a sick life soul? Zhou and Li Xian constantly fought. Zhou Wen used transcendent flying immortal to cooperate with the defy ancient sovereign, but the pressure of the battle was still immense. Li Xian's movement techniques were inexplicably strange. It looked like he had obtained the Dugu family's true heritage. Although he hadn't reached the level of transcendent flying immortal, he couldn't be underestimated. Most importantly, when Zhou Wen's attack struck Li Xian's carapace, it would at most shatter the carapace. It wouldn't affect Li Xian's ability to continue fighting. Furthermore, after the carapace shattered, it would become even sturdier. It wouldn't be that easy for Zhou Wen to shatter it again. Not only was the carapace becoming stronger, but Li Xian himself was also constantly becoming stronger. His various techniques became stranger and stranger, and his transformations became more and more unpredictable. Many of his stances didn't look like something a human could do. Zhou Wen knew that this was definitely a technique and skill that Li Xian had learned from dimensional creatures. Zhou Wen had already pushed the defy ancient sovereign's strength to its limits. Transcendent flying immortal couldn't be any faster, but he still couldn't suppress Li Xian. Li Xian was becoming more and more accustomed to fighting Zhou Wen as he became stronger and stronger. Among his peers, I'm afraid only President can fight Coach to such an extent, Feng Chuyen said. Sadie thought for a moment and said, perhaps some people have the ability to decide the outcome of a battle with Coach in a short period of time, but there aren't many people who can fight Coach head-on. Sis, do you think President has a chance of defeating Coach? Gully asked with interest. It's hard to say. From the looks of it, Li Xian is already in an invincible position. It's not like there's no chance, Sadie said after some thought. Feng Chuyen also said Coach's technique, ability, and grasp of timing are undoubtedly top-notch. If it were any ordinary person, they would have long been defeated. However, President is the type that can't be killed. Coach's dominance will slowly decrease due to the expenditure of stamina and essence energy. As for President, as long as he doesn't die, he will slowly become stronger. Time is on President's side, unless the Coach can defeat the President in a short time. Imagine the Coach's expression when he's defeated. It must be very exciting. I'm really looking forward to it, Gully said excitedly. In fact, many people had such a sense of anticipation. It wasn't that Zhou Wen wasn't as popular as Li Xian, but that deep in the human heart, humans pitied the weak and hoped that the myth would be broken. In modern times, Zhou Wen was practically synonymous with invincibility. In comparison, Li Xian was the person who wanted to break the legend. Li Xian was very serious. Although he gave off a frivolous feeling, he was someone who refused to admit defeat. Even if his opponent was Zhou Wen, he didn't want to lose. Battle, crazy battle. The defy ancient sovereign gave Zhou Wen endless energy, almost like a tireless machine. However, Zhou Wen's suppression of Li Xian was still decreasing. Li Xian became more and more familiar with Zhou Wen's various moves and techniques. Although Zhou Wen was equally familiar with him, he lacked the ability to repair himself and become stronger the more he was injured. Bam! The fists collided. Originally, Zhou Wen's strength could suppress Li Xian, but this collision caused Zhou Wen's body to take 2 steps back uncontrollably. As for Li Xian's body, it only swayed. President has the upper hand, Gully said happily. From the looks of it, the situation has begun to reverse. Sadie looked at Li Xian seriously. In the beginning, she didn't have a good impression of Li Xian. She felt that he was a typical foppish scion, but after constant interaction, Sadie's impression of Li Xian changed drastically. At this point, Sadie had no choice but to admit that Li Xian might be one of the top few people in this generation. Even the strongest member of the ultimate family clan, Lance, might not be able to defeat him. Apart from the 6 families, more and more young geniuses have appeared. Existences like Zhou Wen, Li Xian, and Feng Chuyen might be existences who can control the fate of the Federation in the future. I have to work harder. Sadie carefully watched the battle between the two. At that instant, Li Xian switched from defense to offense and launched a storm-like attack. Previously, Li Xian had defended more than he attacked, but now, he didn't defend at all. He completely threw himself into attacking. Every part of his body seemed to turn into a lethal weapon. Many offensive means were things others didn't even dare think of, but Li Xian was able to use them like flowing water. Zhou Wen was finally suppressed. His strength, speed, and constitution began to decline. Although it wasn't obvious, it was a fact. As for Li Xian, he was still becoming stronger. Zhou Wen had many means to reverse the situation, but he needed to switch to other essence energy arts. Zhou Wen had no such plans as he continued using the Defy Ancient Sovereign to fight Li Xian. Bam! Zhou Wen's body began to be hit. This was the first time he had been hit since the beginning of the battle. After the first time, there was a second and third time. Zhou Wen felt the pain from his body, but his mood wasn't that bad. Instead, he became more and more excited. That's it. Let's be more intense. Zhou Wen sensed the Defy Ancient Sovereign's energy fluctuations in his body as he attempted to control and push the energy fluctuations. Dong dong, dong dong. Zhou Wen's heart beat crazily like a piston that was powered by horsepower. However, this wasn't enough. Zhou Wen guided the infinite vital essence produced by the Defy Ancient Sovereign to constantly compress the explosive force. The Defy Ancient Sovereign could only produce powerful vitality, but there was no way for it to be recycled. Now, what Zhou Wen needed to do was to constantly circulate, compress, and burn the vital energy in his body like the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General circulation chain instead of emitting it. Dong dong. Zhou Wen felt his heart heat up as though it was about to burn. At the same time, Zhou Wen could sense that the Defy Ancient Sovereign was transforming. Come on, let's make the battle crazier. Zhou Wen also abandoned defense and dodging as he swung his fist at the crazily attacking Li Xian. Chapter 894. Bam! Fist collided with flesh, a clash of blood and fire. Zhou Wen and Li Xian seemed to be nailed to the ground. Their legs didn't move, but their arms flailed crazily as they punched each other's faces and chests. Feng Qiuyin, Sadie, and company felt their hearts turn cold. How was this a battle? They were basically risking their lives. Those who didn't know would think that Zhou Wen and Li Xian had some deep grudge. Coach's fighting like this seems to be using his weakness to fight President's strength. Why is he doing this? Feng Qiuyin frowned in thought. Sadie said, he probably wants to make a final stand, right? His stamina and strength are both on the decline. If it's a normal battle, he can only admit defeat when his stamina and strength are greatly reduced. So, before that happens, he needs to make a final attack and hope to turn the situation around. Feng Qiuyin shook his head and said, that's not right. There's no chance of reversing the situation by risking his life like this. Coach won't make such a foolish decision. He must have his reasons. His injuries are getting worse, but Li Xian's injuries have automatically healed. Furthermore, such injuries will only make Li Xian's life, soul carapace, stronger and stronger. I really can't tell what chance Coach has. Unless he uses an external force like a companion beast, he can reverse the situation. Sadie had the eye of Odin's ability, so she could see the situation clearly. Although Zhou Wen's body was strong, his injuries weren't light after suffering so many attacks. However, he still had no intention of retreating as he continued attacking Li Xian crazily. Just a little more? Why can't I advance? What's the difference? Zhou Wen could clearly sense that the Defy Ancient Sovereign in his body was like a volcano that was about to erupt due to the accumulation of too much vital essence. However, for some reason, the energy couldn't erupt to allow the Defy Ancient Sovereign to complete its final evolution. Why? What went wrong? The Fiend-Armored Tiger Soul General can constantly accumulate and burn killing intent and flames to constantly strengthen the Fiend-Armored Tiger Soul General. Why can't the accumulation of vital essence push the Defy Ancient Sovereign to evolve? What's the difference? As Zhou Wen fought, he thought hard. Crack! Zhou Wen's ribs cracked as blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Even his organs began to suffer damage. Tiny cracks appeared as blood seeped out. Think of a way to make them stop. If this continues, Zhou Wen's body won't be able to take it. Sadie could tell that Zhou Wen's injuries were already serious. If this continued, it would be troublesome if his organs were to shatter. They can't be for real, right? At a time like this, shouldn't the guild leader take the initiative to stop? Could it be that the president is really angry? Gully said. Feng Shuyan shook his head and said, impossible. The president isn't that kind of person. He must have his reasons for not stopping. He's already injured to this extent, yet he still hasn't stopped. I really can't think of any other reason, Gully said. Pressure, the usually reticent Gu Jian suddenly said. What? Sadie and company didn't hear what Gu Jian said. Pressure, Gu Jian repeated, but he had no intention of explaining. This time, Sadie and Gully heard it clearly, but they didn't understand what Gu Jian meant. I understand. That's right. It's pressure. Feng Shuyan's eyes lit up as he said appreciatively. What do you mean? Gully asked Feng Shuyan in puzzlement. Feng Shuyan looked at Zhou when in battle and said, Coach wants to break through. He's using a combat method he's not good at to fight president. That's because he wants to break through himself. He wants to make up for his flaws and become stronger. He wants to break through under pressure. President clearly understands this, so he's trying his best to exert pressure on Coach. Is that so? But from the looks of it, if this continues, Coach will be beaten to death. Gully looked at Zhou when doubtfully. Sadie found Feng Qiuyan's explanation somewhat unacceptable. Everyone had things they were good at and bad at. No one could be perfect. If they forced themselves to fight in a way they weren't good at, could they really break through under pressure? Sadie had great doubts about this. Coach should be able to do it, Feng Shuyan said matter-of-factly. He was already considering. What's my weakness? Should I also try to break through my own weakness? If Zhou knew what Feng Shuyan was thinking, he would definitely be at a loss whether to laugh or cry. He only wanted his life soul to advance to a perfect body. He had never thought of breaking through his weakness. If he had the time, he might as well grind more powerful companion beasts. Zhou wasn't a perfectionist. He had never thought of making himself perfect. Why can't I? What went wrong? Zhou clearly felt that the Defy Ancient Sovereign's vital essence was about to explode, but it didn't erupt. Zhou carefully thought about the similarities and differences between the Defy Ancient Sovereign and the Fiend-Armored Tiger Soul General, constantly comparing the differences between the two. Suddenly, an idea flashed through Zhou mind. That's right. I lack a catalyst. The Fiend-Armored Tiger Soul General uses flames to ignite killing intent to burn the fiend armor. No matter how much vital essence the Defy Ancient Sovereign condenses, it lacks a catalyst to ignite it. Therefore, there's no way to convert it into effective energy to push the Defy Ancient Sovereign's evolution. Catalyst. What should I use as a catalyst to ignite the Defy Ancient Sovereign's vital essence? Although the Ancient Sovereign Sutra leaned toward the fire element, it wasn't the power of fire in essence. Instead, it was the fire of life. It was still somewhat different from pure fire elemental powers. From the looks of it, the fire of life wasn't enough to be used as a catalyst. It could even be said that the heat wasn't strong enough. Defy Ancient Sovereign. Ancient Sovereign Sutra. Ancient Sovereign. Zhou suddenly recalled that the Dharch had often said that the Ancient Sovereign Sutra was the essence energy art of a human sovereign. It was an essence energy art that couldn't advance to the mythical stage because there was no path ahead for humans. Even someone as powerful as Swirenshi, the leader of the three sovereigns, couldn't defy the heavens and change his fate to break through to the mythical stage. Defy. I see. If I don't have the determination to defy the heavens and change my fate, how can I fight against the heavens? The Defy Ancient Sovereign life soul in Zhou's body bloomed like the sun, causing the glow on Zhou's body to intensify. Boom! The radiance suddenly converged, and after a split second of convergence, it quickly exploded. The terrifying radiance instantly engulfed the entire training ground, causing everyone's eyes to be blinded for a moment. Chapter 895. The only thing that can ignite one's vital essence is one's own life. Zhou already understood the true meaning of the ancient Sovereign Sutra. He forcefully used his life force as a catalyst to detonate the infinite vital essence in the Defy Ancient Sovereign. Amidst the eruption of vital essence, the Defy Ancient Sovereign rapidly transformed and was instantly pushed to a perfect body. The Defy Ancient Sovereign with a perfect body fused even more closely with Zhou Wen's body, and the influence it had on his body was even more direct and intense. Primordial Human Sovereign? Zhou Wen had already sensed the information from his new life's soul and knew its name. Dong, Dong, Dong. The heartbeat combined with the power of Primordial Human Sovereign. The heart was like a sun, emitting infinite light and heat. The light and heat made Zhou Wen's entire body seem to burn. Every inch of his cells was filled with intense vital essence, like a human-shaped vital essence sun. Even Feng, Chuyin, and company, who were by the side, could sense the intense vitality emitted by Zhou Wen after he burned his vital essence. When the light of life shone on them, not only did it not make them feel any discomfort, but they also felt an indescribable sense of comfort. It was as though their bodies had recovered, and all their fatigue and discomfort were swept away. Even the injuries on Li Xian's body that hadn't fully healed began to rapidly recover under the illumination of Zhou Wen's human-shaped vital essence. The only injury that hadn't recovered was Zhou Wen's own. Human Sovereign's heaven-defying slaughter was to snatch a path of survival for humanity, but he was burning his own life. Sui Rinchi used lightning to obtain fire. Shenangshi tasted all kinds of herbs, and Fushi divined the changes in the world. They were all using their own strength to fight the heavens for a chance of survival. And this chance of survival wasn't left for him. Looking at Zhou Wen, who emitted light and heat like the sun, Li Xian said, "It's fair now. Everyone has a perfect body-life-soul, so no one is at a disadvantage. Let's fight with all our might. Let me see how strong you are." "As you wish." Zhou Wen's body glowed brightly, as though he had turned into a burning energy body. His fist broke through the speed of sound and blasted at Li Xian. Perfect timing. Li Xian wasn't to be outdone. The black evil aura on his carapace surged like an evil god as he punched at Zhou Wen. Bang! At the instant the fists collided, Li Xian's body was sent flying by Zhou Wen's terrifying strength. Even the carapace on his fist shattered. While Li Xian's body was still in midair, Zhou Wen had already caught up to him like a shadow. He punched Li Xian repeatedly. Crack! Crack! The carapace on Li Xian's body shattered piece by piece. Without waiting for his carapace to heal, Zhou Wen's fist had already struck his body of flesh and blood. The primordial human sovereign unleashed all his strength. Every strike was like an explosion of life, exceeding his original limits. Even someone as powerful as Li Xian's carapace found it difficult to withstand it. What powerful strength, but your strength isn't enough to kill me. Such injuries will only make me stronger faster. Li Xian wasn't alarmed by Zhou Wen's continuous attacks. Instead, he was delighted. Really? However, Zhou Wen remained unperturbed. The power of the primordial human sovereign kept erupting, breaking Li Xian's bones. It's useless. It's useless. It's useless. Although such strength is powerful, it's ultimately unable to deal fatal damage to me. It will only make me stronger and stronger. Let the tempest come more violently. Li Xian was in pain and joy. Zhou Wen didn't say a word as his fists landed on Li Xian's body like a storm. He nearly shattered all the carapace on his body. As the carapace rapidly healed, he broke many of Li Xian's bones. Finally, Zhou Wen punched Li Xian in the abdomen, sending him flying. However, while Li Xian was flying, his bones and carapace had completely healed. When he landed on the ground, there were no wounds on his body. Even his carapace had completely recovered. Haha, I knew it. Haha, I knew it. Your attacks are useless against me. I feel like I've become stronger. My self-healing speed has become faster. It's so fast that even I'm surprised. I really have to thank you. Strange. Why do I feel a little dizzy? Li Xian wanted to rub his eyes with his hand, but when he extended his left hand, he realized that his left hand couldn't reach his face. He couldn't help but find it odd. "What's going on?" "President, your body." Gully pointed at Li Xian's body in horror. The others beside him had similar expressions. They looked at Li Xian in horror, as though they had seen a ghost. "What's wrong with my body?" Li Xian looked down at his body, and when he did, he screamed in fright. There weren't any injuries on his body, but all the bones in his body were dislocated. His leg bones were flipped up, and his arm was twisted like a fried dough twist. His eyes were up and down, and his neck was slanted. One of Li Xian's eyes could almost see his back. Now, Li Xian looked like a deformed monster. Although he wasn't injured and his carapace was intact, there was nothing wrong with his body. "Holy sh*t, old Zhou, what did you do to me?" Li Xian was frightened as he asked with a trembling voice. "It's nothing. I'll just break your bones and make them heal faster," Zhou said with a smile. "Holy sh*t, you tricked me. Quickly get me back." Li Xian felt like crying. Li Xian's self-healing had a memory characteristic, allowing him to recover to his normal state. However, Zhou's power of primordial human sovereign also had the ability to heal others. Therefore, Li Xian's broken bones healed before they recovered to their normal state, resulting in such a deformity. "Then I'll have to break your bones again," Zhou said with a smile. Hit me quickly," Li Xian said through gritted teeth. All he wanted now was to quickly restore his handsome appearance. "You were the one who told me to hit you. You can't fight back," Zhou said as he walked in front of Li Xian. "I definitely won't fight back." Li Xian gritted his teeth so hard that they almost shattered. Zhou once again unleashed the power of primordial human sovereign, but this time it was much more difficult to shatter Li Xian's bones. His carapace and bones had become harder, and his self-healing ability was stronger. It wasn't easy for him to break all the deformed bones again, allowing them to return to their normal state and heal on their own. Before long, Li Xian finally returned to normal. Li Xian, who had returned to normal, wanted to sneak an attack on Zhou, but Zhou nimbly dodged it. "You're still going at it? I won't help you recover next time," Zhou said with a smile as he took a few steps back. Li Xian couldn't help but shiver when he thought of his previous appearance. Although he wasn't afraid of being injured, he couldn't tolerate being deformed like that. F***CK. What kind of ghost life soul is this? It's F***King Sinister. Li Xian didn't dare attack again as he cursed indignantly. "Sogu." Chapter 896. After Zhou returned, he carefully studied the primordial human sovereign's abilities and realized that he was indeed very powerful. As expected of a life soul condensed from a power-type essence energy art. After the perfect body primordial human sovereign fused with Zhou, the strength he could unleash was almost comparable to a weaker mythical creature. What was ridiculous was that this power was produced by the burning and explosion of powerful vital essence. In other words, after the primordial human sovereign's power produced destructive power, the burning and explosion of vital essence would also repair the damaged life form. In other words, after Zhou injured someone, he would automatically heal them. Apart from making the other party suffer some pain, there was basically no effect. This is ridiculous. It wasn't easy for me to have a powerful essence, energy art, and life soul with destructive power, but it turns out to be such a situation. Zhou didn't know if he should be happy or worried. He never expected that the essence energy art that represented strength would form a life soul that was healing. What was even more ridiculous was that this healing ability was ineffective on him. From the looks of it, I can only place my hopes on another power-type essence energy art. Zhou could only hope that another power-type essence energy art could give him pure destructive power. Regardless, the ancient sovereign life soul had finally advanced to a perfect body. He was one step closer to advancing to the mythical stage. Now there's still Glimmer, Civilized Country, the Demon God Catalog, and that unknown essence energy art to cultivate. Zhou thought to himself as he considered which essence energy art he should focus on. Glimmer needs to walk out to advance. Civilized Country needs to teleport. These two aren't things that can be cultivated just because I want to. As the demon god catalog doesn't have the corresponding guardian blood, I can't condense a life soul. I can't cultivate it now either. Now, I can only cultivate that unknown essence energy art. After Zhou Wen thought it through, he began studying the essence energy art. He had learned the primordial energy art from the founding Emperor Tomb's entrance. Zhou Wen didn't know what attribute it had. If it was strength, it would match the ancient Sovereign Sutra. All the primordial energy arts were considered complete. However, there was no way to be sure. All Zhou Wen could do was cultivate it first. When he condensed a life providence, he would roughly be able to make a judgment. This primordial energy art was very strange. It purely extracted and compressed primordial energy. With every circulation, the primordial energy would be purified and its density would increase. Apart from that, it had no other effects. Could it be that as long as this primordial energy art purifies my primordial energy to a certain level, it can automatically evolve a life providence? Zhou Wen studied it and felt that there was only one possibility. Therefore, Zhou Wen obtained some high-level primordial energy crystals in-game. As he absorbed them, he practiced his primordial energy art. This method actually worked. With the help of a large number of high-level primordial energy crystals, cultivating the primordial energy art became very easy. The primordial energy in Zhou Wen's body also became pure. This thing seems to be specially used for qi refinement. Could it be an essence energy art with the essence energy attribute? If that's the case, I can only find another primordial energy art that corresponds to strength or constitution. The more Zhou Wen looked at the primordial energy art, the more it resembled a primordial energy attribute. In just a few days, the nameless essence energy art automatically evolved a life providence. Birth horoscope. Qi practitioner after the life providence appeared. Zhou Wen's primordial energy recovery and primordial energy purity were greatly augmented. This left Zhou Wen's heart cold. From the looks of it, this primordial energy art is most likely of the primordial energy attribute. Zhou Wen thought for a moment. Since he had already condensed a life providence, he might as well condense a life soul to see if it was of any use. The guardian's blood that corresponded to the primordial energy attribute wasn't difficult to obtain. Zhou Wen directly made a trip to Ant City and obtained a drop of Ant City's guardian's blood. To Zhou Wen's surprise, this primordial energy art, which Zhou Wen called the Qi refinement art, didn't absorb the Ant City guardian's blood essence. It's actually not of the primordial energy attribute. Zhou Wen was slightly taken aback as hope rose in his heart. Zhou Wen made another trip to the underground sea and obtained a drop of the guardian's blood essence. He attempted to use the Qi refinement art to absorb it. With the Qi refinement art activated, the drop of blood was sucked in. Zhou Wen immediately felt all his primordial energy begin to condense towards the drop of blood. His essence, vitality, and spirit also became active at the same time, showing signs of condensing a life soul. The guardian of the underground sea seems to be of the spatial attribute. Then, what's its corresponding basic attribute? Could it be strength? Zhou Wen was somewhat nervous. This was because he had already confirmed that the Qi refinement art wasn't of the primordial energy attribute. As for the guardian of the underground sea, its attribute had nothing to do with speed. Zhou Wen had already confirmed that it was most likely strength and constitution. As the demon god catalog couldn't use the blood of the guardian of the underground sea to condense a life soul, it was very likely to be of the constitution attribute. Therefore, the Qi refinement art was very likely of the strength attribute. As his essence, vitality, and spirit condensed, the primordial energy in Zhou Wen's body that had been purified by the Qi refinement art rapidly condensed together, gradually forming a pill made purely of primordial energy. The blade was still constantly purifying as the primordial energy in the pill became more and more corporeal. It went from gaseous to liquid, and then from liquid to solid. The form of this life soul looks a little similar to the Tao art's initial life soul. Is it really not of the primordial energy attribute? Zhou Wen was rather suspicious. However, there were still some differences between the two. The Tao Arts Life Soul was born in the sea of consciousness, while the Qi Refinement Arts Life Soul was born in the primordial energy sea. The two were different. Finally, when the pill was crystalline and didn't contain any impurities, the Life Soul was finally condensed. Zhou Wen had already sensed some of its information, but he habitually used his phone to look at its information. Life Soul, primordial energy pill, primordial body. Is this an elixir? Zhou Wen could sense the terrifying primordial energy in the primordial energy pill, but such primordial energy seemed a little too domineering. It was different from something like the rejuvenation pill. Zhou Wen extended his hand and beckoned. The resplendent, diamond-like, primordial energy pill appeared on his fingertip. With a thought, the primordial energy pill flew in the air with his mind. It was very fast, but he didn't discover any special abilities. Could it be that this primordial energy pill is used to smash people? Zhou Wen randomly entered a dungeon and came to the metalwork temple. When he saw a metal man with a hammer in his hand, he ordered the primordial energy pill to rush over. The primordial energy pill transformed into a stream of light and penetrated the metal man's head. The metal man immediately fell to the ground, and a death notification appeared in the system. This thing is really used to smash people. Zhou Wen was greatly surprised as he took the primordial energy pill and found some epic dimensional creatures to test. In the end, the primordial energy pill easily penetrated the epic creature's body. Even the runic heavy-armored warrior's runic heavy armor couldn't stop it. The shimmering runic heavy armor was also forcefully penetrated by it and stabbed into its chest. Chapter 897. I never expected the destructive power of a tiny essence energy pill to be so powerful. If I can advance to a perfect body, its destructive power should be comparable to a relatively low-level mythical weapon, right? Zhou Wen was somewhat delighted. Among his life souls, he didn't have a purely destructive life soul. Unfortunately, this life soul was only a pellet and couldn't be used as a weapon. How can I advance the essence energy pill to a perfect body? Do I continue absorbing essence energy? Zhou Wen attempted to continue absorbing the essence energy in the essence energy crystal and found it useful. The Qi refinement art is really unique. As long as I have enough essence energy, I can resolve all problems. Such an essence energy art can be quickly mastered as long as I have the resources. It's very suitable for large-scale promotion among humans. Zhou Wen was still thinking of promoting the essence energy art in the future. The essence energy pill can slowly absorb essence energy. Glimmer needs to walk out. The advancement of these two life souls only needs time. However, Civilized Country and the Demon God catalog are a little troublesome. Civilized Country requires a large number of teleportations. I have to think of a way to get a pet that can teleport. The Demon God catalog requires the blood of a guardian. From the looks of it, I can only think of a solution from the arch. Zhou Wen pondered over how he could obtain the Thearcha's blood essence. The Arch wants me to meet her at Chess Mountain. This is an opportunity. Perhaps I can finish off that alchemist when I obtain the blood essence. Zhou Wen thought of all sorts of possibilities. Unfortunately, there was no news of the alchemist. He didn't know if the alchemist had given up on pursuing him. Young Master One, haven't you been searching for a companion beast that can teleport? And Sheng called with good news. Is there any news? Zhou Wen was delighted. It's not easy to find such a companion beast. However, a breakout creature that's suspected to be able to teleport has recently appeared along the eastern coast. If you're interested, you can try your luck. You can also do me a favor, and Sheng said. What happened? Zhou Wen asked, and Sheng roughly explained the situation. Due to the appearance of the breakout creature, the nearby cities suffered heavy losses. A local wealthy family had business dealings with the Yin family. An important supplementary material for the Yin family's Essence Energy Compression Accelerator Launcher was mainly provided by that family. Now, they were seeking help from the Yin family. If the Yin family could help them eradicate the breakout creature, not only would they obtain low-price materials, but they would also have priority in providing the Yin family with materials in the future. Such materials were produced very rarely, and many places in the Federation needed them. It wasn't just the family that was willing to help them eradicate the breakout creatures. However, up to now, no one had succeeded. The main reason was that the breakout creature had a powerful spatial inheritance ability. It could teleport continuously, making it difficult to trap it. Even if one had the ability to kill it, they wouldn't be able to catch up to it. And Sheng then sent the detailed information of the breakout creature to Zhou. Zhou imaged and realized that it was a dimensional creature that looked a little like a qilin. Its entire body was like glass, and it ran extremely fast. Furthermore, it could instantly vanish before appearing elsewhere. It was undoubtedly a spatial teleportation ability. Zhou carefully studied the image. As the breakout creature was too fast, even with high-speed camera equipment, the image wasn't complete. There were still some missing parts when it was slowed down. However, from the image, it could be seen that the breakout creature's combat strength was very strong. Apart from its spatial teleportation ability, its physical combat strength was also very strong. It also had powerful single-target and group essence energy skills. It was a very well-rounded mythical creature with almost no obvious weaknesses. In terms of combat strength, Tyrant Behemoth is definitely not inferior to it. The main reason is that its spatial teleportation ability is too powerful. It won't be easy to kill it. Zhou was already somewhat tempted. If not for such a powerful spatial teleportation ability, it wouldn't be worth taking the risk. However, the problem of the alchemist hadn't been resolved. Zhou was afraid that the alchemist would come looking for him after he left Luoyang. When that happened, it wouldn't be easy for him to run to Chess Mountain. I'm very interested in that breakout creature, but I'm afraid I can't go over before resolving the problem of the alchemist, Zhou said to Sheng. There's no rush. No one can finish off that breakout creature yet. There's still a chance if we go later. And Sheng paused before continuing. It's not a solution for us to wait for the alchemist to come knocking on our door. Why don't we think of a way to lure him over? How? Don't tell me you want to use me as bait? Zhou immediately guessed Sheng's intentions. And Sheng said, according to what you said, the banana fan in the Sun True Flames furnace has already been absorbed by your companion beast. It's useless even if the alchemist kills you, but he's still persistently chased after you. There should be other reasons. Think about it carefully, and you should be able to think of something. Perhaps we can use this to lure him over and let him have a taste of the power of the Essence Energy Compression Accelerator. Forget it. Your accelerators need too much preparation time. Energy is also a problem. Zhou rejected Sheng's good intentions. However, Sheng's suggestion gave Zhou some inspiration. It wasn't reliable to rely on the family's accelerator to destroy the alchemist. But if he could lure the alchemist to Chess Mountain, it would be a good idea. If it's not for the Sun Banana fan, why is the alchemist chasing after me? Zhou thought of the purple bronze ball that Lu Yun had given him before they parted, as well as the things he had taken back from the stone house. It should be these things, right? After some thought, Zhou realized that there was only one possibility. Apart from that, he didn't take out anything else from the founding emperor tomb. I can give it a try. Zhou didn't know if this could lure the alchemist over, but he could give it a try. After all, he could only wait. Zhou decided to take the purple bronze ball and pill furnace to Chess Mountain to see if he could lure the alchemist over. I hadn't been in a good mood for the past few days. She had come to the family mainly hoping to obtain the information on the family's essence energy weapons. However, after arriving at the family, she had only met Tianzhuo once. She didn't even have the chance to speak to him, much less go to the family's arsenal. Miss, I've found out that the family places great importance on materials like fiend dust. And the Liu family, who mainly produces fiend dust, has been seeking help everywhere because of the breakout creature. Furthermore, the Liu family is willing to pay a large amount of fiend dust as compensation. At the same time, they are willing to give us priority in purchasing fiend dust. If we can obtain this authority, the family should take the initiative to cooperate with us. The female guard sent the news to Su AI. Chapter 898. It's not convenient for us to appear for this matter, right? Su AI said with a frown. The family has already found someone to deal with it. However, you have to personally deal with that breakout creature. No one else has the ability to do it, the female guard said. There's no progress here. It's not suitable for me to stay in the family for too long. I don't want them to notice anything. It's good to go out, Su AI said after some thought. Zhou took ya, to Chess Mountain. He didn't go to the encampment. Instead, he took a detour to the vicinity of Chess Mountain and found a hidden cave. I wonder if this thing can lure the alchemist over. Zhou took out the pill furnaces and pills, opened the lids, and placed them on the ground. Then he took out the purple bronze ball and injected essence energy into it. After the purple bronze ball absorbed the essence energy, it began to light up. Soon, it looked like a red-hot iron ball. The purple bronze ball seemed to be fire elemental. As long as essence energy was injected, the bronze ball would produce heat, but that was all. It didn't have any special uses. Zhou had already experimented many times. Now that he thought about it, the alchemist's ability to find him might really have something to do with this bronze ball. It seemed like not long after he took out the bronze ball to experiment, the alchemist came knocking on his door. Sitting on the ground, Zhou constantly injected essence energy into the bronze ball to maintain its burning state. Essence energy wasn't worth much to Zhou. In his slaughterer state, it was almost inexhaustible. Although he didn't know if the alchemist would be attracted or when he would come, Zhou was still prepared to escape at any moment. The earth elemental beast and truth listener were already on standby. Zhou sent explosive fiend man out to set up a large number of timekeeping bombs nearby. In some hidden spots, Zhou had also set up many goo companion beasts. He had grinded quite a number of goo in the Valley of No Return, and they came in handy. Even in the river of Chess Mountain, Zhou had thrown many ancient tadpoles. He didn't hope to kill the alchemist. All he wanted was to stall him or discover him ahead of time. And what's this? Zhou suddenly realized that something strange had happened to the purple bronze ball. Because Yuan Qi had been injected for a long time, the entire purple copper ball had turned golden, and within that golden color, there was a hint of purple flowing. That wisp of purple smoke and light kept flowing inside the purple copper ball, and its flow was very rhythmic. Zhou looked at it for a while and found the purple color odd. It was as though it had a life of its own. Wherever it flowed, the essence energy would vanish, causing the golden copper ball to cool down significantly. Zhou attempted to inject more primordial energy, but the outcome was the same. No matter how much primordial energy he injected, the purple ball would absorb most of it, allowing it to maintain a temperature that wasn't too high or too low. Could it be that the purple color is also a dimensional creature? Or could it be that this purple copper ball is a dimensional creature itself? Zhou wasn't sure. After observing for a while, he saw that the purple wisp was only swimming inside the purple bronze ball. Furthermore, it was extremely rhythmic. It didn't look like it would rush out. What is the use of the copper orb? Is it part of the sun, true flames furnace? Zhou was puzzled and wanted to ask Lu Yun, but unfortunately, he didn't know where he was. Lu Yun said that there are 2 purple copper balls. If I can find him, I might be able to figure out what this thing is used for. Zhou observed for a while and saw that there was no special reaction, so he stopped paying attention. He was almost done setting up the surroundings. Zhou got Truth Listener to keep a close eye on his surroundings. The earth elemental beast was right under him, ready to escape at any time. He took out his phone and continued grinding the game dungeons. Yeah. Or held the phone Zhou had bought for her and was learning human language and words. Woo, fish. Yeah, studied seriously with the phone app without any impatience. After 2 days, there was no movement. Zhou wondered if the purple copper ball and pill furnace were useless when his heart suddenly palpitated. He felt that something was amiss. Without any hesitation, Zhou picked up and rushed into the sky. Just as Zhou soared into the sky, he saw the earth elemental beast body bounce up from the ground as though it had been struck by lightning. Lightning crackled on its body as it emitted smoke. Beneath the earth elemental beast, the old alchemist broke out of the ground and stared coldly at Zhou when in midair. As though he had teleported, he grabbed at him. Zhou when unsummoned the injured earth elemental beast and spun the civilized country ring on his finger. He rushed towards a nearby chess mountain wall. Zhou didn't know what had worked, but he couldn't be bothered to consider it. When he teleported out, he was already above Chess Mountain's river. The old alchemist ignored the pill furnaces and pills on the ground. With a flash, he vanished into the ground as though he had chased after him. Zhou thought to himself that no matter how powerful his earth escape was, it was impossible for him to come out of the water and fly towards Chess Mountain along the river. To his surprise, the river below suddenly exploded with waves. The old alchemist's figure condensed from the waves and grabbed at Zhou again. This fellow actually knows water escape. Don't tell me he's proficient in the 5 elemental escape techniques. Zhou hated encountering fellows who were proficient in Dao techniques the most. An epic, elegant emperor's avatar puppet was already very difficult to deal with. The old alchemist was much more difficult to deal with than the elegant emperor's avatar puppet. Thankfully, the old alchemist wasn't powerful enough to interrupt his teleportation. Zhou teleported 6 times in a row and arrived near Chess Mountain's mountain wall. He could clearly see the flower on the mountain wall. The arch, save me. Zhou felt that it was best to be more obedient in front of the arch. If she refused to appear, it wouldn't be too late for him to rush into Deer Terrace Pavilion. However, the flower on the mountain wall didn't react. As for the alchemist behind him, he had already caught up. Zhou could only teleport again. This time, Zhou had already arrived in front of the mountain wall. However, the flower on the mountain wall remained motionless. Zhou had no choice but to summon the earth elemental beast and prepare to forcefully pass through the mountain wall. He wanted to use Earth Escape to enter Deer Terrace Pavilion and lure the old alchemist to the nine-tailed fox. The old alchemist seemed to be somewhat afraid of Chess Mountain, but when he saw nothing happening around him, he chased after him again. At that moment, the flower on the mountain wall suddenly raised its flower bud. A petal fell and dissipated. With the disappearance of the petal, the old alchemist, who was charging at Zhou, suddenly stopped in his tracks. It felt like a galloping horse had been nailed to the ground. There was no buffer in between. Wish spell. Which race's deity are you from? I mean Talisman King from the immortal lineage. I have no intention of offending you, the old alchemist said as he looked at the flower on the mountain wall in horror. Are you worthy of calling yourself an immortal? You're just a lowly rat. The Thearch's voice sounded from the flower. Chapter 899. I'm indeed from the immortal lineage. The old man who called himself Talisman King already had the intention to retreat. He slowly retreated and wanted to use an escape technique to leave, but he realized that his escape technique was completely useless. If you take another step, you will end your own life here, the Tharch said indifferently. Talisman King's expression changed, but he didn't dare move. He stood there with a bitter smile and said, I have no grudge with you, nor do I have any intention of offending you. Are you worthy of having a grudge with me? The Tharch said indifferently. Not to mention a thief like you, even the first-generation contractor, Yellow Emperor, wouldn't dare call himself an immortal, much less a thing like you. When Talisman King heard that, a look of fear flashed in his eyes. He hurriedly bowed and said, Great God, please forgive me. I inherited Yellow Emperor's heritage and thought that I was of the Yellow Emperor's lineage. I definitely wouldn't dare be disrespectful to the immortals. The Tharch said disdainfully, You can't even master the Talisman Sutra and forcefully fused with a guardian. If Yellow Emperor really had a successor like you, he would probably be so angry that he would kill himself. Sever one of your arms and scram. If you dare touch my people again in the future, there will be no place for you in this world. Talisman King gritted his teeth and waved his hand to cut off his other left arm. Without looking at the arm that had landed on the ground, he bowed in the direction of the flower and quickly left. Zhou was dumbfounded. He originally wanted to lure Talisman King and the Arch into an internecine battle, but he never expected such an outcome. Talisman King, who already had the ability to transform into a terror form, didn't even dare resist. With just one sentence from the Arch, he had to sever one of his arms. Are you thinking of luring him to me and letting him fight me to an internecine outcome so that you can take advantage of him? The flower looked at Zhou Wen and said sinisterly. Zhou Wen immediately shivered and hurriedly said, "It's a misunderstanding. It's really a misunderstanding. I was cornered by him, so I had no choice but to seek your help. I really can't repay you for saving my life. I'll go back and prepare some latest research equipment for you. I dare you to take another step and see what happens." The Arch said coldly, "Do you think I really don't know what you did at the river?" Zhou Wen had no choice but to stop and look at the Arch. Ahem, I just wanted to use your reputation to scare him away. He didn't expect him to really dare to come. By the way, the Arch, why did you ask me to come last time? Who did you give that divine fruit to? The Arch asked. Zhou Wen had no choice but to summon Dr. Darkness and say, "I fed him that divine fruit. If I knew you wanted it, I would have given it to you first. Stop talking nonsense." The Arch sized up Dr. Darkness before saying to Zhou Wen, "I saved your life today and helped you send away a powerful enemy. How are you going to repay me? Tell me if you have any instructions. As long as I can do it, I'll definitely do my best." Zhou Wen had no room for negotiation. "Use this companion beast of yours to help me do something. I won't mistreat you. Don't you want my blood essence? If you do this, I'll give you a drop of blood essence," the Arch said. "The matter you're talking about must be very dangerous, right?" Zhou Wen asked carefully. "It's difficult, but it's not difficult either. This companion beast of yours is barely suitable. With him doing this, it shouldn't be too difficult," the Arch replied casually. "Can I know what you want me to do?" Zhou Wen asked. "I want you to steal something from the dimension," the Arch said straightforwardly. "Stealing. My eldest senior brother is especially good at stealing. Furthermore, no one in this world can match him in stealing the sky and switching the sun. Why don't I introduce him to you?" Zhou Wen hurriedly said. The Arch said with a smile, "This thing can't be stolen by that companion beast of yours unless there's another companion beast that has eaten the divine fruit." "What's that?" Zhou Wen asked curiously. "If I tell you what it is, you have to go," the Arch said with a smile. "Can I not go now?" Zhou Wen asked. "Of course not," the Arch said firmly. "Then tell me, what do you want my Dr. Darkness to steal?" Zhou Wen asked the flower. "I want you to help me steal a bell." The Arch pondered for a moment before saying, "What kind of bell? Which dimensional zone is it in?" Zhou Wen continued asking. "It's a bell the size of a fist. It's made of bronze and looks like a small bell. There are ancient Shang characters engraved on it. When you look at it, you will naturally know that it's it." After a pause, the Arch continued, "Didn't I already say that the bell is in a dimension, not a dimensional zone? Otherwise, there wouldn't be a need for a companion beast that has eaten the divine fruit." "The place where I get the divine fruit?" Zhou Wen's expression turned odd. "It's not far." The Arch nodded. "I don't have the ability to go there," Zhou Wen said. "Don't worry about that. Since I want you to go, I naturally have a way to let you come and go safely. All you need to do is follow the plan and steal that bell back," the Arch said. Zhou Wen gritted his teeth and said, "I can give it a try, but I need some time to prepare. Furthermore, you have to give me that drop of blood essence first." "Sure. Swear an oath before me, and I'll give it to you," the Arch said. Zhou Wen knew that if he swore, it wouldn't be as simple as empty words. There would definitely be some restrictions when swearing in front of the Arch. "All right, I swear that if I can't bring that bell back to you, I'll suffer the intense condemnation of my conscience." Zhou Wen raised his hand and swore at the flower in all seriousness. Boom! A bolt of lightning suddenly sounded in the sky, giving Zhou Wen a fright. Zhou Wen originally imagined that he wouldn't be able to get away with this oath, but to his surprise, the Arch didn't make him swear again. She said meaningfully, "Conscience is sometimes very important." With that said, without waiting for Zhou Wen to say anything, a crystalline water droplet suddenly flew out from the flower's pistil and floated in front of Zhou Wen. This is the blood essence you want. I'll give you a month to prepare. Come here again in a month. I'll tell you the detailed plan, the Tharch said. Could it be that the Thearcha's true body is really this flower? Zhou looked at the droplet of blood essence in front of him and suspected. He reached out to hold the water droplet and secretly circulated the demon god catalog. The moment Zhou's palm touched the water droplet seemed to be absorbed by a sponge. It seeped into his skin and was absorbed by the circulating demon god catalog. They actually matched. Zhou was pleasantly surprised. Chapter 900. As the blood was absorbed, the demon god catalog in his body circulated crazily. His essence, vitality, and spirit also circulated with the demon god catalog. His essence, vitality, and spirit gradually gathered together, but they didn't form an independent life soul. Instead, they fused into Zhou's eyes, causing them to gradually turn as clear and transparent as crystals. This transparency was abnormal. Before long, Zhou's eyes turned into the same state as when Torch Dragon activated Bright Torch Vision World. They were like two eye-shaped mirrors. When Zhou's eyes completely turned into a mirror state, his life soul finally condensed. Zhou blinked, and his eyes returned to normal. However, when he activated the Demon God catalog, his eyes turned into mirrors again. From afar, he looked like a blind man without pupils. Could it be that the Demon God catalog's ability is similar to Torch Dragon's? Zhou found it odd, but he didn't dare look at his phone. However, no matter what life soul it was, the Demon God catalog's ability to condense a life soul was enough for Zhou. This essence energy art was most likely to strengthen his physique. It wouldn't overlap with the Chi refinement art. The 8 essence energy arts should be considered complete. The Tharch, I'll head back first. I'll come again in a month. Zhou left Chess Mountain with you, but he was still thinking. Is the Tharch really a 9-tailed fox? Why don't I feel like she's the same? After returning to school, Zhou dared to take out his phone to check the information of his new life soul. Life soul, mirror eyes, primordial body. The small perfection of Wisdom Sutra that strengthens my physique. My life soul also has the state of an eye, but it's a third eye. This mirror eyes directly overlaps with my eyes. I wonder what use it has. Zhou switched on his phone and wanted to give it a try-in game to see if it was similar to Bright Torch Vision World. Soon, Zhou was disappointed. He used mirror eyes to look at the dimensional creatures, but it was completely useless. It didn't produce the effects of Bright Torch Vision World. Ignoring the vision, there wasn't even any light. When he used mirror eyes to look at them, it was no different from looking with ordinary eyes. There was no vision, no lethality, no petrification, no bewitching effects. Zhou tried all the vision-type abilities he could think of, but to no avail. It was as though his life soul didn't exist. What is the use of this life soul? Don't tell me it's an eye reflection ability? Zhou's heart stirred as he went to Medusa's cursed demon palace. There, Zhou didn't kill Medusa. Instead, he used his eyes to look at Medusa. Medusa activated her eyes of enticement, and Zhou's eyes met her gaze. Zhou, who should have been petrified, didn't show any abnormalities. Instead, Medusa was slightly taken aback before her body gradually petrified. It actually works. Zhou was delighted. Although it seemed to be a passive ability, there were many terrifying existences among vision-type abilities. If he could restrain all vision-type abilities, it would be a good life soul. Medusa had only just begun petrifying when she was stimulated into her snake-haired demoness state. After she became a demoness, she used the eyes of petrification to look at Zhou. Zhou continued using mirror eyes to block it, but Gorgon's eyes also showed signs of petrification, but it wasn't obvious. Even the eyes of petrification can be reflected. I wonder what will happen to the Bright Torch Vision World. After killing the demoness and seeing that nothing useful dropped, Zhou eagerly switched to Zhuolu. He wanted to go to the Torch Dragon Temple and see if he could restrain the Bright Torch Vision World. When Zhou stood in front of Torch Dragon Youngling and fought with it, he forced it to use the bright Torch Vision World. Zhou used Mirror Eyes to look at Torch Dragon Youngling. He clearly felt that he wasn't sucked into the Vision World, but it only lasted for a short period of time. Then, the blood-colored avatar was sucked into the Vision World, and the game screen went black. Although he failed to restrain the bright Torch Vision World, Zhou was rather pleasantly surprised. This was because Mirror Eyes still had some influence on the bright Torch Vision World. However, because Mirror Eyes' power was still too weak, it was ultimately destroyed by the bright Torch Vision World. If Mirror Eyes can reach a perfect body, or even advance to the mythical stage in the future, I might be able to resist the bright Torch Vision World. With this possibility in mind, Zhou became excited again. He began studying how to evolve Mirror Eyes. However, after trying many methods, Mirror Eyes didn't budge at all. Be it using Mirror Eyes to reflect the power of the I-type or using Essence Energy to strengthen Mirror Eyes, it was useless. Unable to find a way to advance Mirror Eyes, Zhou had no choice. All he could do was read some information about I-type abilities online, hoping to gain inspiration and find a way to advance Mirror Eyes. Zhou busied himself for 2 days and came up with all sorts of ideas, but it was useless. This can't continue. I should make a trip to the East Sea first. I can improve Glimmer and also see if I can kill that dimensional creature that's proficient in spatial teleportation. Zhou took Ye-Er with him. Zhou guessed that Talisman King wouldn't come looking for trouble with him for the time being. Zhou didn't expect Talisman King to be afraid of the Arch and not dare to cause trouble for him. However, Talisman King had lost an arm and seemed to be heavily injured. It was unlikely he would recover so easily in a short period of time. It's a pity that I didn't get that Talisman King to hand over the Talisman Sutra. That's Yellow Emperor's Essence Energy Art. It must be extraordinary. Zhou felt regretful. Back then, the battle between Yellow Emperor and Qiyu was undoubtedly a battle between guardians. Now, he was basically certain that Yellow Emperor and Qiyu had contracted a guardian. Furthermore, the guardians they contracted were definitely top-notch. From what Talisman King and the Arch said, the guardian contracted by Yellow Emperor should be a guardian of the immortals. Then, which race did Qiyu's guardian come from? Zhou was momentarily at a loss. Zhou didn't dare waste too much time on the way as he headed straight for the East Sea City. He hoped to resolve the dimensional creature as soon as possible. If a companion egg dropped, it was very likely that he could resolve the problem of advancing civilized country. Along the way, Zhou was still very careful and wary of Talisman King. Thankfully, Talisman King didn't appear, saving Zhou a lot of trouble. Sea Gazing City, where the Lu family was located, was a new city after the dimensional storms. As there were some good dimensional zone resources nearby, many powerful families had migrated here, turning the originally small fishing village into the present Sea Gazing City. The Lu family was a family that had migrated here. Now, Sea Gazing City was basically dominated by the Lu family. Chapter 901. When Zhou arrived at the Lu family's residence, the members of the Lu family received him warmly. However, when Zhou mentioned the dimensional creature, the Lu family member who received him only briefly explained the situation. Then, he told Zhou that he hoped he could stay at the Lu family's residence for 2 days. When everyone else arrived, the Lu family head would personally take them to the place where the dimensional creature appeared. After asking, he learned that the Yin family wasn't the only one who had accepted the Lu family's invitation. Even the Xia and Zhang families had sent people over. There were also many famous freelance hunters. The Lu family planned on taking them with them after everyone arrived. When the time came, whoever had the ability to kill the dimensional creature on the spot would receive the conditions offered by the Lu family. Zhou felt that this was fair. As a member of the Lu family, they only hoped to resolve the problem. As for who killed the dimensional creature, they didn't care. However, Zhou didn't plan on staying at the Lu family's residence. Since he would only set off in 2 days, he left the Lu family first. He planned on visiting the nearby dimensional zones to take a look. he might be able to find a tiny palm symbol. There were 4 to 5 famous dimensional zones in Sea Gazing City. The most famous one was half on land and half in the sea. That dimensional zone was named Turtle Tomb. In fact, Turtle Tomb wasn't a tomb, but a dimensional zone with countless sea turtles. It included a large beach and a portion of the shallow sea. The reason for the name Turtle Tomb was related to an ancient myth. As ancient people didn't understand the principle of water circulation, and seeing rivers flowing into the sea day and night without the seawater overflowing, they believed that there was a huge abyss in the east of the sea. All the seawater eventually flowed into the bottomless abyss. This abyss was known as the sinkhole by the ancients. Above the East Sea, there were 5 immortal mountains: Daiyu, Yuanjiao, Fanghu, Yingzhou, and Penglai. As the immortal mountains were hit by the water, they constantly drifted in the direction of the sinkhole, making everyone worry. A sea god was afraid that the immortal mountains would slide into the sinkhole. Therefore, he sent 15 gigantic sea turtles. 3 sea turtles in a group held back the 5 immortal mountains, preventing them from sliding into the sinkhole. At first, everything was fine, but after who knows how many years, a few giants came to the seaside and used bait to catch 6 turtles. They untied the ropes on the backs of the turtles. As a result, he got into big trouble. The 2 immortal mountains, Daiyu and Yuanjiao, lost the pull of the sea turtle and eventually sank into the ultimate. The only immortal mountains left on the sea were Fanghu, Yingzhou, and Penglai. The Turtle Tomb was said to be the place where the giants cooked the 6 turtles and threw the turtle shells on the beach. Every time the tide rose, the giant turtle shell would be submerged, and when the tide fell, the turtle shell would be exposed. Zhouwen didn't know if the legend was true or false. However, in the Turtle Tomb, large reefs would appear after the tide ebbed. They were like tiny islands, and there were a total of 6 of them. On each island, there were many different species of dimensional turtles. All the sea turtles in Turtle Tomb only had one companion form: armor. Furthermore, their defense was extremely strong. Among companion beasts of the same level, the sea turtle's defense could be said to be top-notch. Some special types of turtle armor could be said to have freakish defensive power. Furthermore, this place also produced a very famous primordial energy skill: turtle breathing. It was available from the mortal stage to the epic stage. After practicing turtle breathing, one could temporarily stop one's heartbeat and breathing. The higher the level of turtle breathing, the longer one could last. It was a necessary skill for feigning death. Previously, Liu Yan had feigned death. He had used turtle breathing, and it was at the epic stage. Of course, the true use of turtle breathing wasn't to feign death, but to converge one's aura. It prevented dimensional creatures that relied on their auras to determine the location of humans from discovering their existence. The effect was equivalent to invisibility. As for the mythical turtle breathing, legend had it that someone had dropped, but no one had seen it. When Zhouwen arrived at Turtle Tomb, it wasn't even noon. From afar, he could see many people fighting sea turtles on the beach. And not far away, he could see several huge reef islands. There were much fewer humans on them. The sea turtles on the beach weren't of high levels. They were basically at the mortal stage. Most of the people who came here to hunt sea turtles were people who hadn't cultivated for long. Zhouwen wasn't interested in the sea turtles here, but he still walked slowly along the beach, searching for the tiny palm symbol. Before coming, Sheng had told Zhouwen a legend. Someone said that if the 6 reef islands formed from turtle shells floated away one day, they would definitely head to the sinkhole to continue completing their mission. By following them, he might be able to find Daiyu and Yuanshan Immortal Island that had sunk into the sinkhole. Why is he here? On the beach of Turtle Tomb, 2 men saw Zhouwen. One of them asked in puzzlement. The Yin family must have sent him to hunt that dimensional creature and obtain fiend dust resources for the Yin family, said another man. These 2 men weren't real men, but Yu Suji now and the female guard who had used a transformation spell. It wasn't convenient for them to come to Sea Gazing City with their own identities, so they could only use a transformation spell to change their appearances and secretly come to see Gazing City. They were the same as Zhouwen. Because of the Liu family, they had no choice but to temporarily stay and see Gazing City. Since they had nothing to do, they came to Turtle Tomb to take a look. This was an open dimensional zone. Anyone could come, and there was no need for any identification. They naturally looked down on the sea turtles on the beach. Just as they were about to head to Turtle Shell Island, they never expected to see Zhouwen. Yusuji Nao's eyes darted around as she said to the female guard, "Let's go over and greet him. Why cause trouble?" The female guard was somewhat unwilling. "He's here because he's our competitor. Isn't it more beneficial for us to think of a way to understand our competitor's information?" "Don't worry. I have a way to get information from him," Yusuji Nao said as she walked toward Zhouwen. Although the female guard didn't agree with Yusuji Nao's actions, she still followed. "Hello, are you Zhouwen?" Yusuji Nao approached Zhouwen and greeted him with a man's voice. Zhouwen had already sensed that someone was looking at him. He discovered Yusuji Nao and the female guard, but he didn't recognize them. He only felt that one of them had a somewhat familiar gaze. Seeing them come over and greet him, Zhouwen looked at them in puzzlement and said, "I'm Zhouwen. Who are you?" "You're really Zhouwen. That's great. We're your fans. We especially admire you. I never expected to meet you here." Yusuji Nao pretended to be excited as she took out a notebook and pen and handed it to Zhouwen. "Can I have your autograph?" "No." Zhouwen turned around and left. His explosive fiend man had the deathless skill. Signing it was equivalent to giving his life to the explosive fiend man. Ever since he knew of such a skill, Zhouwen basically stopped signing autographs, much less giving them to strangers. So goo. Chapter 902. Zhouwen quickly left without looking back. Yusuji now held the notebook and pen in a daze. From Yusuji Nao's point of view, Zhouwen's reaction was clearly unreasonable. Facing his fans, even if he wasn't willing to sign, a normal person wouldn't have such an attitude. "Forget it. Let's go," the female guard said to Yusuji Nao. "I know the reason. Go back first. I have my ways," Yusuji Nao said to the female guard as she walked in another direction. When she arrived at a deserted place, Yusuji Nao returned to her original appearance and changed back in her female clothes before heading for the beach again. Although Yusuji Nao had always disliked those who treated women as male accessories, she had to admit that women did have a huge advantage in certain aspects. Ordinary people might be impatient with male fans when it came to asking for an autograph, but if it was a female fan, especially a beautiful and cute female fan, they would be much more patient. Yusuji Nao was very confident in her appearance and figure. Her conditions were much better than when she transformed into Su AI. "Since I have this condition, it's not a bad thing to use it occasionally," Yusuji Nao thought to herself as she walked onto the beach and walked towards Zhouwen. Zhouwen was still strolling leisurely on the beach, mainly to search for the tiny palm symbol. As he walked, he felt someone watching him. He turned around to look at the source of the gaze, but he realized that it wasn't the two men from before, but a beautiful girl who looked less than 20 years old. She was beautiful with a hint of coquettishness. She was a rare beauty. Seeing Zhouwen staring at her, Yusuji Nao revealed a charming smile. From Yusuji Nao's point of view, this was a very advantageous weapon. Zhouwen stared at Yusuji Nao's eyes and felt that they were a little familiar. However, it was difficult to tell with just one look. He wanted to take a closer look so that he could determine where he had seen women with similar eyes. Yusuji Nao thought to herself, "Indeed, men are all the same." With this in mind, Yusuji Nao walked toward Zhouwen. Her beautiful hair fluttered slightly under the sea breeze. Her thin clothes clung tightly to her body, revealing her exquisite figure. In this way, she was not inferior to the models on the runway. She even had a bit more naturalness and playfulness that models did not have. "My name is Hai-Er. I think I've seen you somewhere. Can you tell me your name?" Yusuji Nao came in front of Zhouwen and tidied her hair as she said to him with a smile, "You remembered wrongly. I don't know you." Zhouwen thought carefully and indeed didn't know the woman. With that said, he turned to leave. Yusuji now was slightly taken aback. Seeing that Zhou had already turned around to leave, she calmed down and chased after him. She stood in front of him and said with a shy and charming posture, "It's fine if you don't know me. I think you're very special. Can we get to know each other? No, please make way." Zhou pushed Yusuji now away with his hand and glanced at the reef behind her before walking to the other side. Yusuji now stood there in a daze for a long time. By the time she snapped to her senses, Zhou had already walked away. This fellow, is she a woman who used a transformation spell? Yusuji now thought with an odd expression. Zhou circled the beach, but didn't find the tiny palm symbol. Instead, he killed a few sea turtles that crawled out of the sea. Unfortunately, they were all mortal stage armored sea turtles, so they didn't drop anything. Zhou summoned the great Might Vajra Bull and rode it towards the island in the sea. The 6 islands in Turtle Tomb could only be seen when the tide was low. According to the information Zhou had found, mythical sea turtles would occasionally appear on the 6 turtle shell islands, but there were very few of them. There were quite a number of legendary and epic sea turtles. Zhou wasn't interested in ordinary sea lightning. He mainly wanted to go to the island to see if there were any tiny palm symbols. There were also people hunting sea turtles on Turtle Shell Island. These people were clearly much stronger. Most of them were at the legendary stage, and occasionally he could see epic existences. Zhou wasn't interested in them. He circled the first Turtle Shell Island and didn't find the tiny palm symbol. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly saw a huge creature rush up from the seawater beside him. It was a sea turtle that was comparable to an elephant. Its turtle shell looked similar to an ordinary armored sea turtle. They were both black, but its black color was deeper. Furthermore, the patterns on the back of the sea turtle were golden. They were like golden lines that outlined a strange pattern on the turtle shell. Mythical black iron gold thread turtle. Not far away, someone exclaimed. His shout attracted the gazes of the nearby people. Some people retreated when they saw the black iron gold thread turtle, while others rushed over. Those who dared to rush over were basically at the epic stage. As the black iron gold thread turtle wasn't fast, epic creatures had a chance to dodge. Furthermore, several epic creatures attacked from different directions, making it difficult for the black iron gold thread turtle to focus on its head and tail. It couldn't injure anyone for a moment. The sea turtles in Turtle Tomb had strong defenses, but their combat strength wasn't too strong. This fellow was probably the only mythical creature that could be bullied by a few epic creatures. However, the attacks of the epic humans were useless against the black iron gold thread turtle. All sorts of essence energy skills and companion beasts struck the black iron gold thread turtle, producing metallic clangs. However, it was difficult to leave a mark. Zhou watched from the side for a while, but he didn't immediately attack the black iron gold thread turtle. Yusuji now also arrived on the island. When she saw the black iron gold thread turtle, she had an idea. I can use the excuse of vying for the black iron gold thread turtle with Zhou when it tests his strength. After seeing Zhou win sword techniques, although Yusuji now believed that she was better than Zhou with the great Sky Fiend Guardian, she didn't dare underestimate him. Yusuji now felt that Zhou might be an important opponent for her to obtain the Liu family's fiend dust resources. Furthermore, Zhou represented the Yin family. It would be best if she could think of a way to get Zhou to withdraw before hunting dimensional creatures. I might not be as good as you in sword techniques, but you might not be able to defeat me in actual combat, Yusuji now thought as she approached the black iron gold thread turtle. The epic humans clearly didn't have a good solution to the black iron gold thread turtle. Their attacks couldn't break through its defense at all. After watching for a while, Zhou had a general understanding of the black iron gold thread turtle. This mythical creature basically used all its talent on defense. It was very weak in other aspects. As long as he could break through its defense, killing it would be very simple. Chapter 903. Zhou summoned the golden battle god halberd that had recently dropped and stabbed it at the black iron gold thread turtle's extended head. The black iron gold thread turtle's shell was the hardest. Its extended limbs and head weren't that strong in comparison. The golden battle god halberd also had the unstoppable skill. There was a high chance that the halberd would pierce through its neck. However, just as the golden battle god halberd was about to stab the black iron gold thread turtle's neck, a saber beam suddenly slashed out and struck the golden battle god halberd. The saber beam was fast and ruthless, causing the golden battle god halberd in Zhou-Wen's hand to tilt to the side. It failed to stab the black iron gold thread turtle. Zhou-Wen turned his head and saw that the saber beam had flown over. It was a beautiful girl holding a strange-shaped, narrow saber in her hand. Zhou-Wen remembered that Gasakai, whom he had previously encountered, had used a similar saber, but they also called such a saber sword. "Why did you attack me?" Zhou-Wen asked with a frown when he saw that the girl was the one who had spoken to him earlier. Her name seemed to be Hai-Er. It's rare to see a black iron gold thread turtle. Of course, it belongs to whoever has the ability. Is that wrong? Yusuji now said as she held her Kusanagi no Tsurugi. The Kusanagi sword was also known as the Sword of Kusanagi, and it was the manifestation of the Yamada no Orochi. That's right. As Zhou-Wen spoke, he suddenly stabbed the golden battle god halberd at Yusuji now. Yusuji now was delighted as she raised her Kusanagi no Tsurugi without any hesitation. She thought to herself, "Zhou-Wen, I'll let you know how powerful I, Yusuji now, am today." Just as the Kusanagi no Tsurugi was about to collide with the golden battle god halberd, she suddenly heard a bell ring. Yusuji now immediately felt her head buzz as she felt dizzy. Zhou-Wen wasn't in the mood to tangle with Yusuji now. The golden battle god halberd stabbed into the black iron gold thread turtle's head and killed it. Then he lifted the huge body and threw it into the air. The golden divine light at the tip of the golden battle god halberd quickly streaked across the turtle's abdomen, forcefully slicing it open. A dimensional crystal fell out and was held by Zhou-Wen. It was an essence energy skill crystal. By the time Yusuji now recovered from her dizziness, the black iron gold thread turtle's corpse had landed on the ground. As for the people who were attacking the black iron gold thread turtle, they also recovered from their dizziness and were dumbfounded. A youth who didn't look very old had actually killed a dark steel gold thread turtle in the blink of an eye. It was truly shocking. Yusuji now was alarmed and furious. She was alarmed that if Zhou-Wen had attacked while she was dizzy, he might not have been able to kill her, but he would have made her suffer quite a bit. She was angry because Zhou-Wen didn't seem to treat her as an opponent at all. He had only made a feint and killed the black iron gold thread turtle. He had been fooling her from the beginning. Leave the dimensional crystal behind. Yusuji now didn't dare underestimate Zhou-Wen anymore. She slashed at Zhou-Wen with Kusanagi no Tsurugi in her hand at lightning speed as a saber beam tore through the blade like a wheel. The great might Vajra bull beneath Zhou-Wen rang the bell again. Almost at the same time, the golden battle god halberd in Zhou-Wen's hand stabbed at Yusuji now's heart. Yusuji now was stunned again, but the moment the golden battle god halberd stabbed her chest, Yusuji now's body vanished. The golden battle god halberd only stabbed her robe. Yusuji now, who had shed her golden cicada shell, was covered in white clothes. Only her eyes were exposed, making her look like an ancient ninja. Yusuji now held her saber with both hands and slashed down a saber beam in the air. Her speed was astonishing as the saber beam descended like a wheel. Clang! Zhou-Wen brandished the golden battle god halberd and blocked Yusuji now's saber beam and blade. A mark was left on the golden battle god halberd. What a sharp saber. It's probably sharper than the golden overlord sword. Zhou-Wen was somewhat interested in the saber in Yusuji now's hand, but he didn't know that it was a manifestation of Orochi. Yusuji now landed on the ground as white fog emitted from her body. She suddenly vanished, and when she appeared again, she was already behind Zhou-Wen. She slashed down again. The great Might Vajra Bull's cooldown was up as it rang the bell again. Yusuji now had already predicted the bell. At the same time the bell rang, her body suddenly exploded, transforming into a mist that vanished, preventing Zhou from attacking her while she was stunned. When she appeared again, she was already beside Zhou. The Kusanagi no Tsurugi in her hand slashed at the great Might Vajra bull's leg. Zhou brandished his halberd to block Yusuji Nao's saber. Yusuji now rolled, and her figure burrowed into the sand and vanished. Suddenly, the Kusanagi no Tsurugi stabbed out of the sand and stabbed at the great Might Vajra bull's abdomen. An escape technique? It's a little similar, but it's also a little different. Zhou unsummoned the great Might Vajra bull and soared into the air with Yer in his arms. He dodged Yusuji Nao's saber beam and unsheathed the golden battle god halberd. The golden battle god halberd blocked twice, but 2 saber marks appeared on it. If it was slashed a few more times, it would probably snap. Yusuji Nao brandished her saber. The saber beams were so fast that they seemed to have no shadows. Each strike was faster and more ruthless than the last. Zhou's figure was elegant. No matter how fast, how ruthless, and how sinister Yusuji Nao's saber technique was, she couldn't touch the corner of Zhou's clothes. How could a mythical, transcendent, flying immortal be struck so easily? Yusuji Nao pushed her techniques to the extreme. She constantly changed directions and used different techniques, but they were ultimately ineffective. Zhou used Truth Listener to observe Yusuji Nao's every move. He realized that although her skill was very similar to a 5-elemental escape technique, there were still some differences. The 5-elemental escape technique was to assimilate the body with the 5 elements. It required a physique with the 5 elements to do so. As for her skill, it didn't assimilate her body with the 5 elements. It only enveloped her body with the power of the 5 elements. Such an escape technique could be used over short distances, but it definitely couldn't be used far. Furthermore, her body was still there and hadn't completely assimilated with the 5 elements. Even when she used the escape technique, Truth Listener could still hear her. When Yusuji Nao escaped into the sand again, Zhou used his finger as a sword and stabbed out a sword beam. It was the first move of the Peach Blossom Springs White Robe Man's 13 swords. Immortal guides the way. Yusuji Nao was just about to rush out when she saw the sword beam descend. It was too late to change her position. All she could do was swing her saber to block Zhou's sword beam. Kusanagi no Tsurugi was too sharp as it forcefully sliced open the sword beam from the middle. However, to Yusuji Nao's horror, the sword beam that had been split into 2 didn't dissipate. It continued stabbing at her, and Yusuji Nao no longer had the strength to block it. Boom! Crazy power spewed out from Yusuji Nao's body like a demonic spring. Chapter 904. A black armor appeared on Yusuji Nao's body. The sword beam struck the armor, but it failed to injure it. Instead, the sword beam completely shattered. Great Sky Fiend? Don't tell me I'm so lucky to encounter someone who's actually a contractor of Great Sky Fiend. Zhou immediately recognized the armor on Yusuji Nao's body. It was identical to the Great Sky Fiend on the cube's rankings. Yusuji Nao was forced to use Great Sky Fiend, so she didn't hide it anymore. She leaped up from the sand. Due to the augmentation of the Great Sky Fiend armor, Yusuji Nao already possessed the speed of a mythical creature. She was much faster than before. The Kusanagi no Tsurugi slashed at Zhou like a phantom. It was so fast that no one could see the trajectory of the blade. A stream of light flashed as the blade was about to slash at Zhou. Zhou's movement technique was as elegant as a flying immortal. It didn't seem fast, but he dodged the blade by a millimeter. The Kusanagi no Tsurugi almost brushed past his ear. Wind slash. Multiple slash. Samsara slash. Wind slash with the augmentation of the Great Sky Fiend armor. Yusuji now used her saber art again. However, this time, due to her mythical speed and strength, her saber art seemed to have an acceleration hack. It was unbelievably fast. Wherever the saber aura passed, the surrounding reefs were cut with terrifying saber grooves. The humans on this island had long fled in horror and even the sea turtles on the island had scrambled to escape into the sea. That's Great Sky Fiend. The number one Great Sky Fiend. Holy sh*T, it's really Great Sky Fiend. I think I saw an extremely beautiful girl before Great Sky Fiend transformed. That girl should be Yusuji now, right? I never expected Great Sky Fiend's owner to be such a beautiful girl. However, she's a little too ruthless. That saber art is really lethal. Who's the young man fighting Great Sky Fiend? How impressive. He actually dodged Great Sky Fiend's attack with his movement technique. I think he had no choice but to dodge. He didn't have a chance to retaliate. I don't think so. Look at the young man carrying a little girl in his arms. Look at how calm the little girl is. If the young man is really dodging in a sorry state, he will definitely scare the little girl in his arms. The fact that the little girl is so calm can only mean one thing. Young people are simply unruffled. Speaking of which, who is that young man? He's so young. He's probably not even 20, right? He's actually able to fight Great Sky Fiend without using a companion beast. How terrifying. Zhou Wen's name and looks were well known among the 6 families and some wealthy families, but not many ordinary citizens knew of him. If anyone from the 6 families or the Bureau were here, they wouldn't be surprised to see this scene. Zhou Wen used the God Fiend Life Providence and Glimmer Life Soul to push his movement technique to its limits with Transcendent Flying Immortal. Even though Yusuji now had the augmentation of Great Sky Fiend and her speed and strength had reached the mythical stage, she still failed to touch Zhou Wen. Impossible! I have Great Sky Fiend with me. My speed is already at the mythical stage. He's only at the epic stage. There's such a huge difference in basic speed. How can he dodge my attacks time and time again? Yusuji now was in disbelief. She had always felt that with Great Sky Fiend, no one could fight her unless they were humans who had also contracted a guardian. However, Zhou Wen's appearance shattered the pride in her heart. Ignoring everything else, Zhou Wen's movement technique was actually able to match her mythical speed. It was unacceptable to her. Yusuji now couldn't accept such an outcome. She constantly stimulated Great Sky Fiend's power, making her movement technique and saber art faster and faster. No matter what, she had to defeat Zhou Wen. However, her saber still couldn't touch Zhou Wen. She could clearly sense that Zhou Wen's speed wasn't as fast as hers, but her saber could always be dodged by Zhou Wen. As Zhou Wen dodged Yusuji Nao's attacks, he observed Great Sky Fiend's abilities. His movement technique wasn't as fast as Yusuji Nao's, but movement techniques weren't just about being fast. At the very least, Yusuji Nao wasn't so fast that he couldn't react. Zhou Wen was best at movement techniques. He had trained Transcendent Flying Immortal all the way from a low-level skill. Be it technique or compatibility with Zhou Wen, it was something other skills couldn't compare to. Amidst the terrifying saber shadows, Zhou Wen tapped his toes lightly and floated in the air like a fallen leaf dancing in the wind. He moved with the saber beam. No matter how fast Yusuji Nao's saber techniques were, they couldn't touch him. His speed should be at the pinnacle of the mythical stage. His strength is the same. Although I don't know what Great Sky Fiend's skills are, just from the augmentation of Yusuji Nao's stats, he's undoubtedly a very powerful guardian. Zhou Wen deduced Great Sky Fiend's abilities to obtain more information. However, Zhou Wen also knew that Yusuji Nao was only using Great Sky Fiend's stats and hadn't used his abilities. The strength of a guardian depended on the strength of the abilities they possessed. Zhou Wen kept waiting, wanted to see what abilities Great Sky Fiend had. He wanted to know what his Life Providence, Life Soul, Wheel of Destiny, and skills were. However, to his surprise, Yusuji now didn't use Great Sky Fiend's abilities. She only wanted to defeat Zhou Wen with her saber techniques. From the looks of it, I have to give her some pressure so that she can use Great Sky Fiend's abilities. With a thought, Zhou Wen saw Yusuji now slash at him again. This time, he didn't dodge. A roar shook the world as Tyrant Behemoth descended out of thin air and transformed into a boxing glove that appeared in Zhou Wen's hand. Zhou brandished his fist to meet Yusuji Nao's Kusanagi no Tsurugi. Tyrant Behemoth. Yusuji Nao's pupils constricted. She never expected Zhou to be Tyrant Behemoth's owner. In the last Cube War, Orochi had been defeated by Tyrant Behemoth and was nearly devoured by Tyrant Behemoth. It wasn't just Yusuji Nao. Everyone watching on the beach also saw the terrifying light and roar before Tyrant Behemoth condensed into a boxing glove. However, before they could react, Zhou fist had already collided with Yusuji Nao's saber. Boom! With the augmentation of Tyrant Behemoth's absolute strength, the strength of Zhou's punch was an extremely terrifying existence at the mythical stage. The extremely sharp Kusanagi no Tsurugi collided with Tyrant Behemoth's boxing glove. Not only did it fail to slice open the boxing glove, but it was also sent flying. Yusuji Nao also took several steps back from the terrifying force. The reef beneath her feet shattered one after another as shocking cracks appeared. Holy sh*t. So he's Tyrant Behemoth's owner. It's no wonder he's so strong. So Tyrant Behemoth's owner is from our East District. He's still so young. Haha, I knew it. Great Sky Fiend isn't that impressive. It's just that the top 4 didn't participate in the battle. Otherwise, how could she have arrogantly occupied first place? Overseas is nothing much. Chapter 905. Yusuji Nao stared intently at Zhou when his old and new hatred surged in her heart. She extended her hand and beckoned back the Kusanagi no Tsurugi that had flown out. She was about to charge forward and fight Zhou again. Suddenly, a strange bird's long cry sounded from afar. When Yusuji Nao heard the voice, she glared at Zhou hatefully. White fog exploded from her body before she vanished. What great Sky Fiend! She's only SOSO. She was sent running with a single punch. She even said on the cube that she wanted to kill Tyrant Behemoth to avenge her humiliation. Is she sure she's not here to be a joke? Tyrant Behemoth is still powerful. Tyrant Behemoth's owner is also powerful. Does anyone know who that young man is? Is he from his 6 families? No, he's not from his 6 families. At that moment, a middle-aged man suppressed his excitement and muttered to himself. On his shoulder was a high-speed camera. He had already recorded the battle between Zhou and Yusuji Nao. He was a reporter. He originally wanted to try his luck on Turtle Shell Island and see if he could encounter the breakout creatures that had recently wreaked havoc in the vicinity. To his surprise, he happened to capture this battle. As a journalist, he was rather well informed. He happened to know Zhou. After all, many people knew that Zhou was Wang Mingyuan's disciple. It was also because of this matter that he learned of Zhou. He originally wanted to interview Zhou, but after Yusuji Nao escaped, Zhou quickly vanished. The reporter had no choice but to return without stopping. After getting his colleagues to process the footage, he wrote a press release as quickly as possible and sent it out with the footage. After Great Sky Fiend became first on the rankings, she remained unshakable, but not many people had seen her fight. The moment this video was released, it quickly caused a huge commotion. It wasn't just ordinary people. Even the 6 families wanted to study Great Sky Fiend's abilities. This video became precious information for studying Great Sky Fiend. The ordinary citizens didn't care about Great Sky Fiend. They only cared about 2 things. Zhou was Tyrant Behemoth's owner. Great Sky Fiend had been sent flying by Zhou's punch. Tyrant Behemoth is really too strong. Unfortunately, Tyrant Behemoth didn't have the chance to challenge Tai Sui in the last ranking battle. Otherwise, Tyrant Behemoth might have been the true first. I thought Great Sky Fiend was impressive, but it turns out that he's nothing much. He can't even defeat the 4th-ranked Tyrant Behemoth and was sent flying with a single punch. If he were to encounter the previous 1st-ranked Tai Sui, wouldn't he not even have a chance to escape? Those guys from overseas always thought that they were very strong, but now it seems that they are really weak. Tyrant Behemoth's owner seems to be Zhou. I remember that he's Wang Mingyuan's student. Wang Mingyuan is Wang Mingyuan, and Zhou is Zhou. They are completely different. I heard that Zhou is from Luoyang's and family. I'm just afraid that he will end up like Wang Mingyuan. When that happens, it will be even more difficult for our federation. Yusuji now nearly vomited blood when she saw the reports. If the female guard hadn't used the emergency signal to get her to retreat, how could she have retreated without a fight? In the end, she didn't know which bastard had edited the video, as though she had been sent flying with a single punch. The editing method was clearly biased towards Zhou 1 and had deliberately edited it in such a manner. Bastard, don't let me know who edited this video. I'll skin him alive. Yusuji now was furious. She originally didn't expect Zhou 1 to be Tyrant Behemoth's owner. It was already very depressing for her to be written in such a manner, as though she was afraid of Zhou 1 and Tyrant Behemoth. She couldn't take it lying down. Miss, you shouldn't have used Great Sky Fiend at that time. Now that Great Sky Fiend has been exposed in advance, we are in a very passive position, said the female guard. There's nothing passive about it. Great Sky Fiend has the strength to kill breakout creatures. This is a fact that can't be changed, said Yusuji now. The female guard said, although that's the case, everyone knows that you and Great Sky Fiend are here. I'm afraid that the family will suspect that you are related to the breakout creature's death. Yusuji now naturally knew that she shouldn't have exposed Great Sky Fiend. She said helplessly, I didn't want to either. I had no choice back then. If I hadn't used Great Sky Fiend, I'm afraid I would have been severely injured by Zhou 1. I underestimated his strength. I never expected him to be Tyrant Behemoth's owner. The female guard pondered for a moment and said, Miss, you will suffer every time you encounter this Zhou 1. Perhaps his life providence is your nemesis. I think it's best not to have too much contact with him in the future. Yusuji now said, You're overthinking things. I won't be careless next time. I'll use Great Sky Fiend's abilities with all my might. Even if he has Tyrant Behemoth, he's no match for me. Just as the female guard was about to say something, Yusuji now continued. Besides, even if I avoid him, he's here for the breakout creature and fiend dust. How can I avoid him? The female guard thought that it made sense, but she still exhorted Yusuji now. Miss, I have a nagging feeling that this Zhou 1 is a little odd. He has a bad influence on you. If you encounter him again, you have to be careful. Don't worry. I definitely won't make the same mistake a third time, Yusuji now said through gritted teeth. Zhou 1 originally wanted to see what abilities Great Sky Fiend had, but Yusuji now had run away. This left him somewhat disappointed. Although Slaughterer had already advanced to a perfect body and didn't need to kill Guardians, killing Guardians counted. However, it was better to kill as many Guardians as possible. From the perspective of humans and Earth, Guardians were undoubtedly invaders. Unfortunately, I didn't find a tiny palm symbol. I wonder if I have the chance to make another trip to Turtle Tomb. Zhou 1 felt somewhat regretful. He definitely couldn't go to Turtle Tomb for the next few days. It was unknown if he could return after killing the breakout creature. Thankfully, it's not completely fruitless. Zhou 1 took out the black iron gold thread turtle dimensional creature and used his phone to take a picture. Black iron gold thread turtle crystal requires 41 constitution, 41 essence energy type essence energy art. It's another constitution and essence energy attribute requirement. This isn't difficult. When my constitution reaches 41 points, I can absorb it. It shouldn't take long. Zhou 1 first stored the crystal into the chaos bead. He found a nearby hotel to stay in. When the hotel owner saw Zhou 1, he was reading the news on his phone. He looked at the photo on the news and then at Zhou 1. He immediately pointed at him in pleasant surprise and shouted, You're Zhou 1. Zhou 1 was slightly taken aback. He glanced at the news on his phone and realized that he had become famous because of his battle with Great Sky Fiend. The boss warmly received Zhou 1 and even arranged the best room in the hotel for him. Boss, can you give me a discount? Zhou 1 asked as he looked at the room price. Anything is fine. If you're unhappy, you can hit me, but there's no discount, the boss said firmly. Then give me a standard room, Zhou 1 said. Chapter 906. In the end, The boss gave Zhou a 20% discount and let him stay in the VIP room. However, even with a 20% discount, it was still much more expensive than the standard room. Zhou looked at the VIP room and realized that it had been a long time since anyone had stayed in it. There was even dust on the television. The boss wiped it awkwardly and said to Zhou, "Idle, feel free to stay. There's even breakfast in the morning. It's quite sumptuous." Zhou took a look and saw that the blanket was rather clean, so he didn't say anything else. After the boss left, Zhou took out milk and other food from the chaos space. After heating it up for he let her eat some nutritious food. Now that she was growing, she grew a little every day. Her shoes and clothes would appear a little small every once in a while. Watching her grow up day by day was a very magical feeling. He switched on his phone and read the news about him. There's a lot of discussion online, but the most discussed topic wasn't him, the main character. Instead, it was Tyrant Behemoth. This was because when the reporter discovered the situation and came over to film, it was already the second half of the video. Furthermore, it had been deliberately edited. Therefore, it looked like Zhou was hugging Yair and elegantly dodging a few strikes from Yusuji now. Then, he summoned Tyrant Behemoth and transformed it into a boxing glove. With a punch, he sent Yusuji now flying with her saber. Most people were amazed by Tyrant Behemoth's strength. The people from the East District were glad that Tyrant Behemoth's owner was from the East District. The people from the West District expressed that it was because their companion beasts were powerful that Zhou could defeat Great Sky Fiend. Tyrant Behemoth was much more popular than Zhou, the main character. This made Zhou feel indignant. Do these people have any taste? If I hadn't used it well, it would be useless no matter how strong Tyrant Behemoth is. If it were to fight on its own, it wouldn't even be able to touch Yusuji now, alright? Zhou had only said it casually. He didn't really care about it. Just as he was about to turn off the news and continue grinding dungeons, he suddenly saw the news being interrupted. A piece of news had been inserted. "Good evening, viewers. I'm a reporter from the Imperial Capital television station, Euro. I'm now broadcasting live in front of the Imperial Capital's cube. Just now, a new creature challenged the first-ranked Great Sky Fiend. From the cube screen, we can see that the companion beast that challenged Great Sky Fiend is no stranger to us. It's the heavy-armored titan that once challenged Primordial Sword Immortal in the previous ranking battle. Heavy-armored titan was very similar to Tyrant Behemoth. There were also companion beasts that focused on strength and constitution. Just as Great Sky Fiend was defeated by Tyrant Behemoth, Heavy-armored titan suddenly challenged Great Sky Fiend. Its goal is self-evident. When Zhou saw the news, he found it amusing. There were really people who believed that they could defeat Great Sky Fiend and Yusuji now with strength and constitution alone. In fact, when Zhou fought Great Sky Fiend, Yusuji now didn't use Great Sky Fiend's abilities at all. Otherwise, even with Tyrant Behemoth, it wouldn't have been so easy to defeat her. I wonder if Yusuji now will accept the challenge. Zhou didn't bother with his phone. As he played the news on his phone, he used the mysterious phone to grind dungeons. He had just finished grinding the 81 pill essences on Pill Furnace Mountain when he heard reporter Yorong's excited voice coming from the phone. Friends in the audience. Friends in the audience. Great Celestial Demon has accepted the challenge and is entering the arena. Zhou put down the mysterious phone and looked at the live stream. Indeed, he saw Yusuji now, who was dressed in Great Sky Fiend armor, slowly descend into the cube arena in the void. There's going to be a good show. Perhaps I can see a portion of Great Sky Fiend's abilities. From Yusuji now's aura, Zhou knew that she was definitely in a bad mood. Heavy Armored Titan was probably in trouble. Heavy Armored Titan's owner clearly didn't think so. He felt that Tyrant Behemoth could defeat Great Sky Fiend. Although Heavy Armored Chin Tan's strength wasn't as strong as Tyrant Behemoth's, his defense was better than Tyrant Behemoth's. Even if he couldn't defeat Great Sky Fiend, he could use Heavy Armored Titan's defense to force Great Sky Fiend to use some abilities and means. It would be very helpful for studying Great Sky Fiend. Just as Great Sky Fiend entered the arena, Heavy Armored Titan roared. The heavy armor on his body lit up as red magma-like magma runes appeared on it. With the augmentation of the magma runes, Heavy Armored Titan's originally powerful defense became even more sick. In the previous ranking battle, the powerful primordial sword Immortal failed to break through Heavy Armored Titan's defense when it used this move. Roar! 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 3 consecutive roars sounded. 2 halos appeared beneath Heavy Armored Titan's feet, and a white barrier of light appeared over his body. One could roughly guess that it was a skill that augmented his body. After doing all of this, Heavy Armored Titan charged at Yusuji now, who was floating in the air. Its body was extremely huge, and every step it took was like a mountain moving horizontally, causing the ground to tremble. Just as it was about to reach Yusuji now, Heavy Armored Titan leaped up. Its massive body soared into the air, and its palms clasped into fists. With the might of MT Tai, it struck at Yusuji now, who was floating there. Yusuji now floated there motionlessly. She only looked coldly at the massive figure that was charging at her through the Great Sky Fiend armor's eye patch. Only when Heavy Armored Titan's fist was about to reach her did Yusuji now finally raise her arm. The moment she raised her arm, demonic flames spewed out from the Great Sky Fiend armor, enveloping Yusuji now's entire body. Boom! Heavy Armored Titan's hands struck Yusuji now's tiny palm, but the mountain-like strike was blocked by the tiny palm. Heavy Armored Titan used all his strength, but he couldn't move his fist forward at all. From the audience's perspective, the scene was even more shocking. In front of the Heavy Armored Titan, Yusuji now was as tiny as an ant. The Heavy Armored Titan that descended like a mountain was blocked by a tiny palm that was as tiny as an ant. The impact of such a scene was just too intense. However, in the next second, an even more unbelievable scene happened. The demonic flames on Yusuji now's body rose and instantly enveloped Heavy Armored Titan's huge body. Furthermore, the demonic flames quickly drilled into Heavy Armored Titan's body through the gaps in the armor. Heavy Armored Titan's owner clearly realized that something was amiss. He wanted Heavy Armored Titan to admit defeat and retract him. However, it was too late. There was a loud bang. Heavy Armored Titan exploded like a watermelon in Yusuji now's palm. Fragments and flesh splattered like blood-colored fireworks. Seeing Heavy Armored Titan's name disappear, the entire world fell silent. Chapter 907. It can't be right. The Heavy Armored Titan shouldn't be much weaker than Tyrant Behemoth. How did it get instantly killed? What was that? Am I seeing things? Is the Heavy Armored Titan that much weaker than Tyrant Behemoth? Everyone was discussing this. The scene of the great celestial demon killing the Heavy Armored Titan in one move was too shocking. Even the people from the 6 great families had not expected that the Heavy Armored Titan, whose forte was defense, would die so easily. Yusuji now's mood finally improved. She had also cleared Great Sky Fiend's name and exposed a portion of Great Sky Fiend's abilities. However, there was nothing she could do about it. If she dragged on with the Heavy Armored Titan for too long, the other families would also believe that Great Sky Fiend was easy to deal with. They would constantly send mythical creatures to probe Great Sky Fiend, making things even more troublesome. Now that she had killed the Heavy Armored Titan in one strike with lightning speed, if anyone wanted to probe Great Sky Fiend, they had to consider if they could bear the price of losing a mythical creature. Even though the number of mythical companion beasts in the 6 families was constantly increasing, few people would be willing to sacrifice mythical companion beasts for this. What kind of power was that strike? Zhou thought about the crux of Great Sky Fiend's strike. It was clearly not a pure collision of strength. Even with Tyrant Behemoth's absolute strength, it was impossible for it to blast apart the Heavy Armored Titan's armor in one strike, much less shatter it into pieces. Great Sky Fiend's strength clearly had a special effect. That was why the Heavy Armored Titan couldn't even withstand a single strike. However, even if he saw the process with his own eyes, he couldn't accurately determine what kind of power it was because there were too many possibilities. It might be a power similar to Life Blast. As long as it came into contact with the opponent, it could detonate the opponent's body energy. It could also be a penetrative power. The power directly passed through the heavy armored Titan and destroyed its body from the inside, leaving it unable to resist. There were several possibilities he could think of, but there were also unimaginable possibilities. However, after seeing Great Sky Fiend strike, he definitely couldn't let the demonic flames on Yasuji Nao's body touch him when he fought her. Although Heavy Armored Titan isn't bad, it's still much weaker than Tyrant Behemoth. Tyrant Behemoth can repel Great Sky Fiend, but Heavy Armored Titan can't even withstand a single strike. The difference is too great. I hope that Tyrant Behemoth can step forward to challenge Great Sky Fiend and reclaim first place. I want those fellows overseas to know how powerful our Federation is. Many people hoped that Tyrant Behemoth could fight, but Zhou had no such plans. Before figuring out Great Sky Fiend's exact abilities, Zhou couldn't participate in the battle himself. Sending Tyrant Behemoth to challenge Yasuji now was no different from sending him to his death. I should quickly advance to the mythical stage. Zhou constantly absorbed primordial energy crystals in-game, hoping to quickly raise the level of his primordial energy pills. Ding! After killing Medusa in her demoness state, a primordial energy skill crystal dropped. Zhou deliberately waited for Medusa to become a demoness before killing her. He later killed the young Medusa several times, but nothing dropped. In the past, when Zhou grinded Medusa, he had seen Medusa drop 2 essence energy skill crystals. One required 41 constitution and 21 curse stat, while the other required 41 essence energy and 21 poison stat. Zhou's essence energy and poison stats had already met the requirements, so he had been grinding Medusa recently, hoping to obtain a skill crystal with 41 essence energy. 2 days ago, he had also obtained a Medusa crystal, but unfortunately, it was the kind that required 41 constitution. Zhou couldn't cultivate it, so it was dropped again. Let's get one with 41 essence energy. Zhou prayed inwardly as he picked it up and was immediately overjoyed. It was the skill crystal with the essence energy and poison stat requirements. I can finally absorb a divine skill. Zhou couldn't wait to absorb the essence energy skill crystal. The crystal transformed into grayish-white essence energy that entered the blood-colored avatar's body. Zhou immediately felt as though his body was being pricked by needles wherever the essence energy passed. The primordial energy constantly circulated in Zhou's body, forcefully opening up his meridians. After more than an hour, the primordial energy formed a cycle and finally, all the primordial energy flowed into Zhou's hair. Absorbed Medusa crystal. Attained mythical essence energy skill. Fatal temptation. It's indeed not the eyes of petrification. Zhou had long guessed that the essence energy skill crystal with the constitution and curse requirement was the eyes of petrification skill. What skill is this fatal temptation? The poison stat requirement. Don't tell me it's going to turn my hair into a venomous snake? Zhou couldn't help but feel uneasy when he thought of his head full of venomous snakes. Such a skill felt a little strange and difficult to accept. He nervously looked at Fatal Temptation's introduction and realized that it was indeed a hair skill. He was alarmed, but after carefully reading the introduction, he heaved a sigh of relief. Legend had it that Medusa had the most beautiful long hair in the world. As a result, she became too proud and despised Athena, turning into a snake demoness. Fatal Temptation allowed one's hair to be tainted with poison, but it wouldn't turn into a venomous snake. If anyone touched the poisonous hair, they would be poisoned. Zhou tried using Fatal Temptation. With a surge of essence energy, Zhou's hair immediately grew crazily. In a blink of an eye, it reached the ground. However, Zhou knew that it wasn't real hair, but condensed from essence energy. With a thought, Zhou tried to control the poisonous hair condensed from essence energy, but he realized that it was extremely difficult. It didn't seem realistic to use the poisonous hair as a weapon. Do I have to passively wait for others to touch my hair? Zhou was somewhat depressed. Such a skill wasn't what he needed. However, on second thought, Zhou had another idea. He plucked out a strand of essence energy poisonous hair and placed it in the water. The essence energy poisonous hair immediately fused into the water. Soon, many dimensional creatures in the water were poisoned to death. So this skill can also be used to poison. In that case, it's not bad. However, I wonder how poisonous Fatal Temptation is. Can it poison a mythical creature to death? Zhou had studied it for a long time and roughly knew how to use Fatal Temptation. In fact, there was no need for it to be in the water. Even in the air, Fatal Temptation could emit a poisonous gas. It was like perfume. Any creature that smelled it would be poisoned. However, the toxicity wasn't as strong as Zhou imagined. It was somewhat difficult to poison a mythical creature to death unless the mythical creature directly swallowed a large amount of essence energy. If he could do that, there was a high chance that Zhou could directly kill the mythical creature. There was no need to go through so much trouble. However, if this skill was used against humans, the effects would be very powerful. This was because the strongest humans were only at the epic stage. Just the poisonous gas emitted from the poisonous hair could cause great damage to humans. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.